collector, and skip for the moment the assessors, who's next in order, but is the kind of, then the finance
Are
people.
you all set with the finance consultant?
I'm making that assumption, and I'm not looking either way to find out.
I just wanted to be sure.
How's that? Treasurer collector. Okay. You may have to rearrange the chairs.
No, I think we're great.
So like this end is real tough.
Who's going to tell us about treasurer collector?
Anne Marie. And myself. I was the former treasurer collector, but I can certainly, Anne Marie and I can certainly help.
Interest of time, whatever, that's the point.
Yep. So I'll let Anne Marie introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Anne Marie Dyson, treasurer collector. Are there specific questions you have, or I don't know?
Just a quick overview, maybe?
So the overview is we collect the real estate, personal property, motor vehicle, utility, taxes for everybody. I take care of the tax sale accounts, and when it comes down to the bonds and borrowing of any projects,
Anne Marie. So it's the treasurer and the collector role.
Yeah.
It's both. So the treasurer role is the borrowing that you spoke about. It's also overseeing all the investment accounts that we have for our stabilization and our trust funds and our general fund accounts. And then we also have the financial advisor that works with Anne Marie and bond counsel to do the borrowing. So there's the treasurer side, and then the collector side is all the billing, the property taxes, utility bills, personal property, all the turnovers from every single department of any fees they collect goes to Anne Marie's department, the collectors. There are 3 collection specialists, and Anne Marie has a deputy treasurer collector.
I love it.
Yes.
So, why is the bond cost in her department? Why is he associated with the finance CFO?
the bond counsel.
Is it, why is that, is it by legal, is it regulations?
Yep, so when
Or
we
is it
go,
just,
when we go out to borrow, they have to go to bond counsel for approval.
well, I fully understand all that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering why it's in your department, not the CFO's department.
Yep, so the treasurer collector is under me, but for Massachusetts general law, any borrowing is the town administrator and the treasurer.
Yeah, it's just a choice we made. It's just like been like that since Jim Dacey was our elected treasurer. I think most of this goes back to when the position was elected. Jim did a great job for decades, and I think when there was no assistant town manager, there was no CFO, there was no deputy CFO, there was no one. They just said, we'll do it downstairs. I think it's as simple as that. I don't think it's any bigger than that. Yeah. And all the borrowing, by the way, and all the coordination that does come out of, for here at least, in most cities and towns, I think almost all, I don't know of one that may be a larger city, all of that originates at the treasurer collector level. So all of our borrowing.
And how often do you go for your rate raises?
When we borrow.
When we do a borrowing,
Only
so
when we do a
typically in
borrowing. You have to
this
get
town, our history is we did a borrowing every year. This year we do not have one because we did that temporary note for the fire truck.
Right.
Last year we did a bond rating that's online and
You know,
we
yeah.
maintain our AAA.
Okay.
Just one quick question about the passport. Do you know what the revenue is for that?
Linda will get it for you in a second. She's pulling up.
Just curious if it's a,
It's great.
but
It's increasing dramatically.
like, do we pay her salary out of the revenue and still make money?
Sliver, it's the photo booth. We put a photo booth downstairs. Did you know that?
No, because she was coming back. I'm sure she was.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry she didn't call you back. Yeah, you should go and you can get your photo taken downstairs.
Just
We suck
curious.
blood from rocks here, folks. Like, we even set up a photo booth so that the customer doesn't have to go down here, forget their photo, go to Walgreens or CVS. So we charge them like $5 less a photo, and we probably make a few cents on every photo or whatever. You guys also got to remind yourselves, like, 50% we legally can only charge fees to recoup the cost. We cannot be a profiteering entity. In fact, Franklin was a part of a case where we got sued on that 20-something years, 30 years ago, and we obviously lost. So you can't really make a lot of money. There's some wiggle room, but I think, I'm pretty close to paying for the service, if not.
Yeah,
not
so
a little.
we can collect $35 for her to execute
Right.
the passport,
Right,
and
State's Department.
then right now it's $12 for a photo, but we are looking to increase that a little bit. Because down the street it's like $18 to $20, so even if we bump it up a little, it's something.
We used it as a family of 5, and it was the best thing ever.
She called you back.
She did. I got in there. It was hard to get in there. I will say I had to come down and ask her in person. Nonetheless.
I'm just curious because I feel like, when we talk about nice to have versus needs to have, right? That's one of those things that's a nice to have,
Yeah.
that's a service, but, personally, I'd rather have trash barrels emptied around town than I would a passport lady.
But it's not an either or.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, when we look at those things, like, is it beneficial for us to have?
When we got rid of, when the federal government, originally this, for years and decades, this was in the town clerk's office. And then some IRS rule made it so that, I don't know, like elected officials couldn't do something. I don't remember what it was. It was like 12 years ago.
It's because
And
we have access to
people, right, there was some reason that was in there. And it was much more unpopular to get rid of it than to have it. And we actually make money off people a little bit that come in from other towns. So there is a revenue source that pays for it. So if we got rid of it, it would just make a lot of people unhappy that they've got to drive 2 or 3 towns away to get a passport.
And she is
So-
part-time, so it's.
And she is part-time.
I'm familiar.
Get it done yourself.
You can schedule it online too.
Yeah.
Send that
I
out.
know, Gary, you're very optimistic.
Well,
I'll share that story later on.
Okay, all right.
We'll fix that.
We're not going to balance the
just
budget on
waiting.
passports tonight.
No, I'm just waiting for the number.
Okay. Oh,
I'm looking.
revenue kit? I should have pulled that. Well,
We
she'll
can
get it to
keep
you.
going. We'll get it.
Get it to you.
A question on the 13,850 of other professional services, that was an add-on.
Actually, it was just, we created a new line item, but then redistributed the blank ones. If you see, we consolidated and
Got
moved
it.
it around.
Okay.
Yeah, the only increase was the 13,000 for contractual, and that's for billing, which, we took out 22,000.
Is that Kelly?
That's, it's no customized data, but we use
Customized data.
the deputy collector too. So, that is inflation and just the number of bills has gone up.
How much bad debt do you have?
So
How much- so
on
don't you-
outstanding property taxes?
Yeah, how much uncollected property taxes do you have?
Well, I'm working on that. So unfortunately, there are people who don't pay their taxes, so I actively am now, how should I say, trying to collect that. And there's a process to that. So when we send out a bill originally, then it goes to a demand, and then now you use the deputy tax collector, which is, we didn't have one before, but the legislation changed, so we had to get one. And so that's the process that we send our files to them, and they collect on our behalf. And then after that, I take the files back and I give one last chance for people to pay those balances, and then I start the tax title process, which then puts a lien on their property. So as far as amount, right now I have about 80 properties over the past couple of years that I'm working on trying to collect.
So in the revenue budget that you gave us, Jamie, at the beginning, you assumed 100% of collection, I'm assuming, at the top.
Well, that's not on that sheet. We do a quarterly update of revenues as the finance committee.
But at the top, you said prior to the tax.
That's what we assume.
That's what you assume,
That's what
but
we
that's
assume.
gross.
That's right.
That's gross collections.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't include any allowance for uncollected taxes.
Correct.
Okay, so what, on an average, would that uncollected number be?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. What we.
So, by definition, that would adjust the revenues down.
No, because they still obligate that tax.
We haven't collected anything.
That's right.
So
But it's
aren't you
getting charged at
cash
14%. So
Aren't you
you're,
cash basis?
what?
Isn't this
Do you-
cash basis?
I think I think what Anne Marie and you need to do is, if Tom wants to answer these questions, we either have to talk to him about the process of debt collection.
I don't care about the
Well,
process.
what?
I understand how you collect debt.
Okay.
All right, this is my accounts receivable department.
Right.
I just want to know what's in the budget that could be uncollectible.
Right.
And so if I'm going to use a number, if it's 200 grand, then the budget's already up by 200 grand. If it's not collected, you don't get it.
So if you look at local receipts, when you look at motor vehicle, when you look at other collectibles, usually it's above and beyond what that is, I believe, right? Because what he's saying is not, I understand on paper what he's saying happens, but that's not really what happens.
Correct.
Right? So that's why I'm saying he actually does need to know the process.
Correct.
Because it's not like accounts payable. Because there's a whole series of statutes that Anne Marie has to follow about how you collect that. And then people do pass it in. But then there's another line item in local receipts that's for interest and payments. And so when people are paying their taxes with 14%, you're making some of that back. It may not be till the next fiscal year.
I fully understand.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, if I send out $1 million in tax bills,
Yeah.
and I only get 800,000 back in cash,
Anne Marie?
then I have to go through this collection process. It's a time delay.
Right.
Correct.
And so don't I have a deficit?
You do when we report it on, I'm looking at my comptroller, and again, I will not take up time.
Okay, we can go through the debits and credits later.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Linda?
Oh, okay.
Unless you can do it quickly, it's not,
So, $100 on the controller. So at the end of the year, I can give you a copy of this as well. I have its revenue analysis, so it actually breaks down property taxes, motor vehicle, liens, penalties, and then the revenues, like Jamie said, of all departments. So it does show an excess, and then it will show shortfalls. And it was about $1 million last year in property tax.
$1 million in uncollected property tax last year.
And so then what happens?
June 30th.
So then walk them through the next step. So you have a deficit in his mind in this fiscal year of $1 million. Where's that made up?
From all your other excesses from different departments, and they're turned back.
But we're lucky we got the extra excesses.
Correct, but that's lucky.
You know,
We're lucky.
gives and takes in any budget, I fully understand that.
Correct.
But we have is that a historical number, $1 million a year? Is it?
I'd have to go back and look. But the thing is, that's just till June 30th.
I
These
see.
payments might have come in July and August.
Yeah, no, I understand
It's just as far as
that.
I'm
But that where you are at this moment in time.
Correct.
Got it.
And I can say, like, right now, I'm working on collecting about almost 500,000 over the past 3 fiscal years.
Yeah, and technically, I would assume that becomes free cash.
Correct.
Because it comes in a different period, unexpected, so that might become free cash.
Right. Right. We're crumbling.
Quit now. For Chromebooks.
We're crumbling. Which,
So who stores do we need to go to get these Chromebook numbers?
Have we always had 3 collection specialists?
we actually had 6.
yeah.
Yep.
So.
We used to have 6. When I first got here, we had 6, and all the credit goes to Carrie. When she was downstairs, she cross-trained and really reorganized the whole department, and now we only have 3.
Oh. It's busy.
You never give up
Busy,
your
it's their
billers.
job, they get it, everybody's busy.
Right.
Rule number 1, you never give up your billers. You gotta collect your cash.
If I say I'm gonna ask every department what they can cut, I'm gonna ask every department what they can cut.
Yeah.
It's a revenue producing
And my work,
department.
so.
Yeah.
What, do you think if there's anything in here you could cut? Even $10,000, anything that?
Well, the fact that I just increased my expenses now, because what I'm gonna collect is what they're gonna process for me. So, unless someone retires or something, I can look at it then, but I can't afford to lose them. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting emotional over it, but it's true, you know, and I think we have a good, they have to be, you have to have certain personalities to be able to public, as you know, so it's working.
Well, and 6 to 3 is the answer.
that was,
You wanted more requests.
Correct.
Which is what it was asking.
and you can talk about a myriad of things that when you took over as treasurer collector, you instituted. I mean, we were still doing a lot of processing of paper bills. We started doing a lot of things non-electronic. Nothing was online. So a lot of those efficiencies have been brought forth. And I mean, my personal opinion is it's not the emotional piece. It's not how the quality of the people of Donna and Tammy and Barbara downstairs, although they are all amazing. If you were to lose one more person there, you would then be going against exactly your nexus of how you bring in the money. And you would see a huge impact with one more clerk that was not down there. Because bills would not get out on time, things would not be processed correctly. And then when property tax bills aren't paid, you don't have the staff to go through all that process to get repayment, go on a payment plan. We're not even into tax title issues. I mean, there's a lot down there. So Carrie's done a great job to get that office down to the bare minimum of what it is. It's just nice.
Just one question, because I missed it. What did you say the 13,850 was for?
That was increase for the cost of billing that's gone up, the inflation of that, yeah.
Printing.
Print bills, yes.
Okay.
Paperless.
Anything else?
Go, yes.
Yep.
Sign up.
So we do
Paperless
have
saves us money.
Yep.
All right. Are we set with treasurer's collector? She hopes so.
Want to go back up to assessors?
Yeah, back to assessors.
Okay, so Kevin will come back up. The one feature here is there's an additional administrative assistant, which the actual board has asked for a couple of years. Kevin has talked about this publicly, and he'll talk about it again, hopefully the Reader's Digest version again. But if you're looking at new growth, our appraisers right now, our property appraisers are in the office using 5-10 hours of their time a week on admin. And so the idea here is to centralize the admin on abutter notifications, letters, certificates of abatement, a whole variety of things, answering the phones, interacting with customers, so that the actual property appraisers can go out and capture new growth. Is that right, Kevin?
Yes, that's correct.
Anything else you want to add?
Well,
Go ahead.
we appreciate very much the importance of the treasurer collector. They're collecting the money, but the buck starts here. It doesn't stop here, it starts here. We're laying the foundation for over $100 million in local property taxes. In order to do that, we've got to have credible valuations for the real and personal property. We've got to create the complete the excise tax files so that they're proper for the collection of those. The figures are computed by the registry of motor vehicles. But there's a huge volume of work that goes into building every property and maintaining that database and translating all of those features on all those properties into a credible valuation. If they're achieved full and fair cash value, not higher, not lower. You have very sophisticated computations to go through and statistics to meet the highest standards in the country for valuations of real estate. I'm open to questions, or
Is this
how you want to proceed.
Is this an administrative assistant, Uno?
One administrative assistant, and I think if this were ready by the end of the summer, you're going to easily pay for the job easily through new growth. We may even be able to revise our new growth assumptions if there's support. I think if you talk to Kevin, I think by the time you went through a full year, maybe year 2, not only is the position paying for itself, but you'll probably be getting double your money because you're going to be able to have the appraisers not have to do any of the admin work, and they'd be able to spend 100% of their time on it. You may have a better metric, but I mean that's what you said before, Kevin.
Yes, that's what I mean. We're operating under Mass General law. Everything we're doing is only what we absolutely have to do to be compliant with the state law. If we're not compliant, then we don't get to move to the next step. And that's the most important part of that is establishing tax rate. There's no place to cut here. We're at bare bones now, and we've lost some ground because we wanted to do more on-site work, which translates into better values and discovery of new growth. And that's what we want to recover. We one time had three three full-time admins. Gradually, we were cut back, and then what happened was, with the last retirement, we didn't replace that person. We said, well, we all cross-trained, made sure everybody was cross-trained. Everybody's capable in all areas in my office, but they're doing admin work when they could be out on the road or working on technical computations at their desks when the admin work should be done by somebody, because we have standards for that, we have procedures for that. Just train a person, get them to do all of these things.
Who does the actual input to Patriot property?
The appraisers do that because it's not just dumping in data, there's interpretations they need to make along the way.
But is that something that would transfer to the admin?
No,
And allow your guys to be on the road?
certain things could. We would do that, but in processing the information, they know what they need to achieve and they know what makes sense too. I've been in situations where you've just had a data entry person putting things in, and sometimes the results are not good. They have to be carefully, the data has to be carefully handled.
Anybody have a question?
So, Jamie, you brought up that this increases revenue. How?
Increases the new growth assumption.
So the revenue.
Well, again, if you take 30, our work weeks are 35 hours for non-union. So if you take that 35 hours and if you pay 54,000 and change for an admin, and you get 35 hours of staff time, to Kevin's point, over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you develop that person into an individual who can do all of the administrative work for that department, which is quite a bit, actually. So that frees up 5 to 10 hours per appraiser to be doing more computations in the office, going in and doing more work on the actual new growth, property valuation, and hopefully out on the street while they're doing their reevals. So you look at the new growth, you're basing that new growth number on what our current staffing capacity is. And so when you know, and I'm just saying, like, I could go into the budget and instead of 800,000 on that new growth, maybe the assumption's now 900,000 for next year, and maybe you go through a year, see how that all flows, and depending on what the market looks like and how things are in year 2, year 3, year 4, and you try to build off that once you have a team that's fully gelled and that's going.
So
does that make sense?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we're not capturing everything. Is that what I'm
Correct.
hearing?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so there is property out there that's not properly valued. That if we properly valued it.
I don't know if that's the way I would phrase it.
Okay.
What you don't have is capacity of people to go out and capture that value.
But at some moment in time, I hopefully, what I'm hearing is we're missing it.
Yeah.
So we have missing property that's not getting valued.
I think we're saying the same thing 2 different ways.
Okay. So both things right at the same time?
Okay? It can happen.
Good. Or is there a timing issue? Isn't there like a January 1st, so it's not valued by January 1st? You miss it for a year?
That's
No. Well, the snapshot in time, because we're under chapter 653, which means that we got to move the assessment date for the physical status of the properties to June 30th. And for the fiscal year, it begins the next day, July 1. That's the physical status. The valuation is still based on January 1st. So that's the appraisal date, let's say.
Yeah, so if we get it in by January 1st, we can tax it.
Right, but we're capturing, we're working on building permits and also visiting properties that may not have been visited before, capturing information that should have been on the record. That goes along right through to the as of June 30th date. And because we continue after that.
Yeah.
Because if it's it was 75% finished June 30th, we may end up getting into it later. We'll have to roll it back. It's a lot. There's a lot involved.
So what I'm hearing is a timing issue that we may miss some revenue because we haven't done it in an appropriate time schedule. Is that what I'm hearing?
Just because there's 10,000 properties out there, we
And that's fine.
haven't gotten
That's all. That's what I'm wondering about.
Right.
So by virtue of hiring this person, I get you out sooner to get it.
Correct.
appraised.
Yeah, it's an ongoing
Taxes.
thing.
That's right.
It has
So that's
to
what
be-
I'm saying, like, from a realistic downstairs, Renee and the rest of the staff, they can spend their 5 to 10 hours, 7 hours a week, instead of answering phones, writing letters, sending out certificates, and doing all the abutter notifications, they can actually be out.
So I look at this as a revenue producing position.
Exactly.
Just a quick question. So, two questions. One, volume-wise, like, what's the average volume for an appraiser right now? Like, are they doing 3 properties a week? Like, just, I don't need a number, I'm just looking for a guesstimate here.
Per month?
Well,
Yeah, month's fine.
I mean, if they were at it, continuously, it's gonna be probably 15 to 25 a day. Depends on what kind of property and whether or not, when they work permits, they tend to be spread out somewhat. People make specific appointments that aren't necessarily in efficient flow. But if they're just going out, just neighborhood by neighborhood, we notify an entire map, for example. We send out the mailer. We say we're going to be in the area in the next few weeks. They do, anywhere from, like I said, 15 to 25. It depends on the kind of houses they are and the kind of response they get for doing the interior. There's an exterior verification, the measurements, and then there's an interior walkthrough. It only takes a fairly short amount of time. But again, it depends. And of course, with our folks out there, they work for the town. People sometimes have questions that are not directly related to our work. They try to be helpful, just as they do in the office when someone comes to the counter. Then they end up having a question about something else.
So on a monthly basis, what is an appraiser doing? Just a guesstimate, I'm not looking for an exact number versus appointments.
It could be doing probably, they could do a couple hundred, at least a couple hundred.
Okay, so my question,
Properties,
I'm leading up
of
to
course, of
it.
the month, including processing the information in the office.
So I'm leading up to the point that your proposal is for an administrative assistant, right?
Right.
What would be the additional benefit of doing a part-time appraiser who has additional capacity to look at properties?
It still puts the talent back in the office doing things that really should be done by an administrative person.
Is set up.
If you said in addition to, he'll take another appraiser.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
No, but I mean, in all seriousness, Jen, you're down the right end. I mean, I think Kevin answered it perfectly. Like, I don't know how else to say it. If the staff downstairs are spending 5 to 7 or 10 hours a week on admin, and you take that off their plate, they're now 5 to 10 hours a week out on the road capturing new properties and doing that. It just, I don't know how else to explain it. If you want to hire the admin to do all the admin work to centralize that and then hire another appraiser, I'm not going to speak for him, but I bet you he'd take that deal in a second, and you're probably right, you would get a good bang for your buck on a whole nother full-time appraiser. I would say for a part-time appraiser, not a lot of people are going to take that job. Part-time jobs are just not, people just aren't looking for part-time jobs. But
I just say that part-time because you also have the benefits, right? So again, that's another cost added to our full-time additional positions. We have to figure in benefits.
But we have talented full-time people, and if you look at contractual costs, which we've had some in the past, And I know, you know, this because I've been in the business for 44 years, that it's not the best way to go. The in-house is much better. You're familiar with the community. If you have a vested interest, it's important to do the work right and be accurate. You don't get that with the contractors. They find ways.
I see your point, Jen. You're just trying to get rid of the healthcare benefit.
Well, good, I think it adds up.
Yeah. You can do that too?
Yeah.
The clock is running. Any more questions?
Is there anything in this office equipment maintenance? I mean, $55,000 was office equipment maintenance for $55,000.
Okay. So that's the support for the real estate database. It's all our assessments, all our
That Patriot?
property. Yep. Yeah, they call it.
Do you know
Catalyst
Patriot?
now. It's a new owner, but it's Patriot Properties is a well-known name throughout Commonwealth.
It's the assessor's version of Munis.
Right.
Every town has Patriot Properties because you need a centralized
Oh, it's a
database.
computer program.
Yeah, it's a computer software program.
It's that's like 35,000. 2,000 for software support for our personal property database. 4,000 for the support for the public and the staff access to the database, real estate database, which is really like a town database because we're trying to link more and more information that's property location oriented to each property. It's on the assessor's web. There's also a service called Nearmap, which is used by all of the town departments that have land interests. This is photography, aerial photography that's very detailed, and it's flyover 3 times a year. And we have a subscription for that, and that's invaluable. Used to be in the old days, you'd scrape up the money to hope to get black and white photography every 25 or 30 years. We get 3 shots a year, and it's extremely helpful to monitoring what's going on, what's happened with a particular parcel and what's going on with it. Town engineer was one early when we got it, was extremely complimentary about having it available. So a lot of things we do are available. We're servicing, we're helping other departments as much as we can as well. If we can do something just slightly differently and it's going to help some department, that's what we're going to do.
Just the last question, a couple of years ago, appraisals and surveys were at around 13,000 and it's jumped up to 30.
So that's, it's, the 13,000 is the basic, commercial, industrial, and apartments, that type of property, need to take a broader view than just what's here in town. So we have a contract for that with Patriot Properties. It's now called Catalyst. It's owned by a different party, but it's all the same core people working there. But in addition, we have a few more, some funding for contingencies, and also for subscription to data that helps us to fine-tune those valuations. We sometimes will have appeals, and sometimes there's some exposure on that, so we may need to spend a little money on that. So we have a contingency fund which takes care of any specialized appraising might need to perform.
Nice, seeing there's nothing we cut.
No, absolutely not. We want to be able to deliver.
Yeah.
We want to keep the town running.
George, I got one quick question. When you appraise commercial property, do you use a market value approach or an income value approach?
So we're required to have 2 approaches to value. Have a cost, market, and income. The 2 approaches we choose, the primary approach is income approach. For this is real estate approach, not about the business, not about the maintenance of investment property. and we back that up, usually the cost approach. But for the limited number of valid sales that we can find in town or even slightly in the region, we consider those as well, because they're valid and they're probably going to tie in with the equal approach.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? We beat the assessors. Good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The town attorney is next.
Yep, pretty straightforward.
What can we do with that?
Well, I will tell you, our town attorney is amazing, and when he retires, this line item will double, easy. So someday, when he retires, which will not be that far off in the distant future, he's now 24 hours a week at a almost embarrassing rate of pay. But when he goes up to, when that's a full-time in-house attorney, you're talking $2 to $2.25. If you want to go with a firm, you're going to pay $500, $600, $700, $800 an hour. The staff are used to an in-house attorney. Our legal expense budget got cut 2 years ago in the cuts by $10,000. We expended $38,000 2 years ago for development, labor, solar, any special counsel. We don't use an attorney for collective bargaining. Karen and I do it basically in-house. If there's something unique, we might tap into our labor counsel. I've worked for towns that spend $250,000 to $500,000 a year just on labor costs. This is one of the most efficient and cost-effective budgets in the entire budget. And it will easily double, easily, when he retires. And if we see the lawsuits on development and things like that continue, your legal expense budget is going to go way up. I wouldn't be surprised this year if the legal expense budget went over and we had to do a year-end transfer from another budget. But this is one I just put on your radar that either in the next year or so, this thing's going to go way up by 25, 50%.
So the legal expense budget is $53,500. We've spent $39,800.
Yeah. With 4 months ago, 3 months ago. Is what it is.
Just a quick question, capacity-wise, so when you say in-house, like I know he attends town council meetings, is that regular? Is that like,
Yeah.
that's typical for
No.
municipalities? Okay, that's what I'm asking.
No. But we're a city form of government, and you know, from an efficiency standpoint, having him at the meetings then makes it so if 5 counselors have questions and we can't answer them, then we've got to come back to the next meeting. They've already forgotten what their questions were. We're on to other issues. No, I'm being sincere. Like, it just, you just wouldn't ever have, nothing would be solved. And I can speak for a lot of the folks behind me, you know, having an in-house attorney for the last 24 years, you know, we all walk up and see Mark on little technical questions. It's actually a big reason why we don't get sued very much. The amount of lawsuits we deal with are very far and few between. And for, you know, we just don't deal with very many of them, thank goodness. And a big reason of why we don't have a big legal expense budget like other towns is because we have an in-house attorney that we can consult with who can sometimes bring us back to reality on how we should work these things out. And he also liaisons with all of our boards, our ZBA, Planning Board, Conservation, all of those other boards. If once you get another lawyer, they will not go to the Planning Board on Monday night for free. That's travel expenses, that's 3 hours waiting there. You know, Mark just goes because it's what, you know, it's kind of what it's just what we do. You know, try not to take it for granted because they just don't make them like him anymore. Everybody's a specialist in legal services. Everybody's pays hot. It's just like every other legal field, right? I mean, if you were to hire a firm today, you're going to get probably 6, 7 different lawyers because you're going to get a procurement lawyer, an alcohol licenses lawyer, land use lawyer. You get different specialists. All of those are just billable hours, and they just go cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So when Mark retires, my game plan would be to hire a full-time in-house attorney. We also can't devalue his institutional knowledge. So if there's a lawsuit or if there's a kerfuffle at a planning board meeting, Mark knows it all because he's been here for a long time, but that next lawyer is gonna have to go down to the first floor, pull the file, read through all the history. That's all hours and time. So it's definitely a succession plan issue that's gonna pop up at some point, and I've been lucky enough to keep him along this long, and hopefully he sticks it out a little longer. But at some point, we're gonna have to really think through what the game plan is on this issue. So this is a budget that's still very valuable right now. I mean, to get that level of legal service, including labor and we pay our cable lawyer out of this for the annual cable renewals. There's a lot of little things that, when we have solar agreements, we have special counsel for that. Cannabis agreements, we have special counsel for that. But with Mark in-house, sometimes I don't have to go hire that special counsel because Mark may know, or may be able to handle it in-house. So.
Any more questions? Human resources. Next. I thought we had heard from you enough already.
I think so too. The Marine Administrator is not in my budget, in finance. That was still my big fight. We did already cut 5,000 from the HR budget to help support the Marine Administrator. There's not really much more I can spare, or anything I can spare in expenses. We do pre-employment physicals for every new hire, and DPW employees, we do a DOT physical. So all those costs add up quite a bit. A big chunk of our budget is on medical services. A new police officer or firefighter, we're probably paying $1,500 to $2,000 to get them on board. So that's a pre-employment physical and a psychological exam. So those are, some years it might go lower if we don't have a lot of turnover, but we have had a lot of staffing changes and moves in the last couple of years, a lot of retirements. So I think it's better to keep that there as a buffer. Usually I do end up converting cash money back, which helps free cash.
Are we settled on all the contracts
No.
now?
There's one outstanding.
One? That's unusual.
It is unusual,
Yeah.
but it's
Anything else?
Pre-employment physicals, how much do they cost them? And what do you do it for? What do you do it for?
We do them for every position.
No, like, what do you want to find out?
A lot of our positions are very physical, so they're required for police and fire. And that's important to see if someone applies for a disability retirement later on. You want a paper report of where they were when they were hired. It's very important for custodians and DPW, since they're very manual positions, a lot of heavy lifting and everything. The other positions, we do a drug screen to take into account, any drug use that we should be aware of and potentially might affect their employment offer. And then everyone else is just making sure they meet see if they need an accommodation and what they can do, that they can do the general physical requirements of their job.
How many employees have you turned away because of the drug usage, now that cannabis is?
We use it more for police, fire, DPW are still looking at marijuana use. For our other employees, since it is legal in Massachusetts, I typically would not turn someone away from marijuana use. We've had probably 2 or 3 cases in my 9 years where we have found other drug use getting turned down to someone for employment.
No, I understand the mobility, doing the mobility testing, I do understand that, but the rest of it, yeah. What do you?
Well, when you deal with disability pensions, like Karen had, documentation is key.
Yeah, the mobility, I understand that.
And so, you deal even with staff that are, doing boxes, and you understand.
I understand.
Just for the record too, for the people.
No, we looked at that policy and eliminated most of it.
Right.
Because everyone was tested for marijuana, it's legal.
Right. I guess it would be a bigger policy decision. We certainly still have to keep it for about half of our hires.
So there was some opportunity for some savings.
Anybody else?
This is a lean budget, yeah, this one.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. It's mostly, obviously, our support staff, 3 people. We do benefits for the entire town and schools.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, so it really, I can't, if we lost our benefits coordinator, the school doesn't have one anymore, so we'd be in a lot of trouble there. If I'm not here, I mean, I'm in the office a lot for meetings, I have to have staff there to answer the phones and just keep stuff moving.
Yeah.
And my deputy director is doing even more, you know, if we're in bargaining for days at a time, I have to have staff there to keep things moving.
My question was really just going to be as to if there was any redundancies. I know that people may not listen to this, but nobody is going to read these narratives that JJ wrote. Maybe someone might listen to these meetings, so Ryan's giving me a hard time for asking a lot of questions in here. But I think it's important.
I was just gonna say that.
I think it's important for the community to have another resource that they can put me on 2 times speed and ask me. I know. I get it. But
There was one.
But people aren't going to read it, Jamie. You're constantly complaining about how the community isn't misinformed, and this is an opportunity.
I agree.
For people to. So
Oh, I
I'm
agree.
back on this firing at me.
I'll stay here till 3 in the morning. I will stay here all night. I think it's great, Shannon. I really do.
People have to be able to hear these things.
I agree.
We need another
Completely agree.
So if there's no redundancy, that was going to be my question. There's not, the school doesn't also have an HR.
No, we've changed a lot in the last couple of years. We found when I started, there was a school HR, town HR. At one point, they were sending out 2 different memos for open enrollment for the exact same benefits. I'm like, what are we doing? So in the last 9 years, we've done more and more work together. The schools have been so swamped. They only had 2 people for a long time for almost 1,000 employees. So I was taking on a lot of benefits work myself, and then we said, all right, we're all drowning in this. We just need one set benefits person that's doing it for the whole town. It's been helped a lot with efficiencies.
Great. Thank you for answering my verbal
That
questions.
was great. Fantastic.
Is GIC going to have any effect?
We're hoping. We put out a 14.5% increase on health insurance. It's very unpredictable, so it depends on enrollment. But some of the plans, like our retirees alone, will probably save like $200,000 on our Medicare retirees because the plans have gone down. They now choose from 4 plans, and they're all significantly cheaper than what they're currently on. Our active employees, everyone that's currently on the EPO plan, basically no matter what plan they pick with the GIC, the premium's going to go down. So it's very unpredictable because if people pick the Cadillac plans, you know, it's going to balance out and reduce some of the savings, but we are hoping the benefits budget is very much up in the air. Open enrollment ends on May 1st. The deductions have to start their paychecks by the beginning of June, so right around the end of May, we'll have a more accurate number for benefits, because I take what people are currently on, look at all the vacancies, make my best guess of, you know, an average.
The cost of GIC, I understand that's.
Yeah.
I was thinking of an effect on the staff itself. Knowledge
It'll
database.
save a little bit, but they put a lot back on the GIC coordinator for each town. So Emma Collins is going to be that.
It is going to save my life and her
Yeah,
life.
it saves a lot of time out of my schedule.
No, for real. This move will save us in an enormous amount of time, for sure.
We won't have to
Enormous.
think about plan design. Every year we go to the
I
insurance.
can't even tell you how many hours we spend a month on.
You guys have the time.
What?
I have other
We should
stuff I
make
can
him
also
go
do.
through a mass
Yeah.
strategic meeting.
You're welcome to join, they're really fun.
Just watch the out-of-pocket costs.
George, I got one left.
I'm choking on that one.
When the current plan structure, is it, I don't know if we should ask the question here or when we get into the benefit design. Do you use consultants on the current insurance products?
We do. They're actually, this year they did not make any money off of us as consultants.
But
In
there's
the
the cost
past,
associated with that, and where was it, buried in the premium?
it's buried in premium.
It's buried in
Yep.
premium.
And that's not gonna, we don't have our consultants getting paid through premiums going forward.
Okay.
So it is probably something we're gonna have to look at, but a big part of what our consultants were doing was looking at our data and our costs every year and deciding what we should do the following year. Once you join the GIC, a lot of that guesswork is out because it's a statewide group that's gonna make, you know, we'll voice our opinions and probably write letters to the GIC board, and I'll participate in watching the meetings, but we won't be designing our own plans anymore.
And did you have a pharmacy benefit manager?
It was all through the group that we're a part of, through the Mass Strategic Health Group, and that was built into the premiums as well.
And was built, so was it self-insured product?
Yeah, more or less it was part of a larger consortium, but we were treated, it didn't really act like a group, so we were being charged for every single claim, and we're actually in a deficit paying off those claims at this point.
And then the pharmacy benefit manager, did you get rebates from that program?
Oh,
Yeah.
And is that,
That was counting towards our bottom line in Franklin.
Okay.
Going forward, it'll all just be part of the GIC, we won't get any rebates.
that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were getting the rebates from.
We weren't getting them allocated towards our bottom line for a long time. And just this plan year, they started giving them back to us in rebates, which has helped our loss ratio and our costs. Because we were actually getting them applied to the tender pricing.
Did you have any lasered accounts?
I don't think so. I think they had it. I could look at that. Our consultant would know. I've heard the term, but I think we did not have them.
Right.
Anybody else? Moving on.
So IT is 155. We're going to do that tomorrow night because Tim's going to be here with the school.
Oh, it feels good to stand up. Okay, I'm gonna be quick, George.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so my
My wife
budget.
just texted me and said it's rather long.
Well, you all have my narrative, and I imagine you all read it, right, Ryan?
Yes. Everyone up here read it, I'm sure.
Perfect. So my personnel services, that's 3 people. My expenses, very lean, there's nothing there to cut. I'm sorry, I think I had an increase of $2,000, and that was for contracts and printing the annual report, which is by charter. So I can't cut anything there.
The town report is required, right?
By charter, every November.
By charter or by state law?
It's in our charter.
Something to look at in the charter. I know, but
Well, I've cut down too. I used to order 500. I'm only doing 300 now, so I'm posting it on the website. But I still need, 300. You like that, George? You like the hard copy, right? Yeah. And I do have a deputy, Jen.
I appreciate it. As long as everyone gets one, Nancy.
Yeah. So, like I said, the $2,000 increase is just by increasing contracts.
can we just lump elections into this?
Elections, yes, but does anybody
Yeah,
have
same time,
any
but not the same budget.
questions?
That's
Yeah, I know.
separate.
Any questions, town clerk? Okay, moving right along. See, George, I told you I'd be fast. Elections, there's nothing I can do. It's an election, right? I mean, it's one person. I have 9 wardens, 1 per precinct. I've cut down from 4 people to 3 people per precinct for an election. The state says that I do not need to have my outbooks at an election. I'm not cutting my outbooks. God forbid there's some sort of a glitch, and not that it would ever happen, but you just don't know. If we lose power, if there's a glitch in one of the poll pads, I need to be sure that I have that hard copy book of all of the voters at the election. I like the check in, the check out. Call me old fashioned.
We don't have an election this year?
We have 2 elections. We have the state primary and the state election. Yeah, and I've actually saved a lot of money bringing the in-person early voting to the town hall and having a staff of 3 on my town clerk side, and then the 1 full-time election specialist has enabled me to do this, therefore saving thousands of dollars on the school side as well, because I'm not taking the school from the students for the 2.5 weeks, and they're not going out renting, other gyms to host events that they may have. So sorry, Shannon, I don't have anything there either.
Questions, anybody?
I'm assuming census can't go on electronic?
No. I would love that.
I would too. It's
Yeah.
such a pain to
I
punch
need
off.
that hard signature. I need the wet signature.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can send it to me electronically, but I still do need your hard copy.
Yeah, and you have to mail it.
Absolutely.
The election worker line item in 2439, and it's up to 58, and it's down to 11, now it's up to 27.
Different elections,
Okay.
different elections. And like I said, I gave back a ton of money last year, bringing in-person early voting year for the year before.
FY25 in here was the last presidential
And
election.
that's, yeah.
A lot more.
So depending upon the elections, but I typically do give money back.
And there's also like a small reimbursement from the state.
It's very small.
It's very small, but it does offset some
They
of it.
cover your in-person early voting. But when I have it here now, you know, having the staff that I have, I don't have to bring in a lot of people to work that, those hours. Questions?
Anybody else?
So elections has a full-time administrative assistant?
One full-time specialist. Yep, that's it.
And the town clerk has a full-time administrative assistant. What does an elections administrative assistant do full-time?
So people are under the impression that elections are just around election time. That is not the case. So we have to manage, we have 33,000 residents, 24,000 registered voters. Every day we get a queue from the registry of motor vehicles. That, you know, people are coming in, moving in, registering to vote, people are dying, people are changing their voter registration, you have a birthday, you're renewing your license, you go through the registry of motor vehicles, you get put into our queue. We have to verify all of that information. So she's busy every day, all day, doing things like that. About a month and a half ago, I had a vacancy rate of 1,600 vacancies in town. There are not 1,600 vacancies in the town of Franklin. There's probably a handful of vacancies, right? So she's also sending out second notices, she's reaching out to them, we're sending welcome packets. People don't register as residents for whatever reason that is. They don't return their census for whatever reason that is. With this full-time elections person, we have a 90% return rate for our census right now. That is unheard of in other towns.
And how does that benefit the town?
Funding, right?
A lot of state programs are based on number of people, that kind of stuff. School.
Yeah.
Library, yeah, there's a whole bunch of formula issues that come through with population.
Some questions are just asking questions for
Yeah.
clarity so that
Sure, of course.
people know
I
why we're
appreciate it.
paying for a full-time.
We are a very busy office.
For that. That's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? John? Next up.
You know what, I don't even know if I saw Bricolai. Bricolai's part-time, so she was not able to attend. But it's a $94,000 a year budget. Most of her budget is going to get recapped in fees. Everything that's here is stuff that's needed in the department. She doesn't have a very large expense line item. She's part-time, and we're about to hire, maybe in the next few weeks, the part-time administrative assistant. So we actually saved $5,000 and a healthcare account for Jen.
Thank you.
Seriously, and here's a -1 healthcare assumption because Bricolai was full-time, she was eligible for benefits. Now that she's part-time and the admin's part-time, neither are eligible for benefits. And we were able to save $5,000 in salary from this move. And the good news is we got to retain Bricolai, who was able to retain the institutional knowledge she's had for the last 4 or 5 years by having her stay on part-time. So
She's good at what she does.
excellent.
Anybody else?
The administrative assistant tab, just because it says vacant.
Yep. So if you look in FY26, it was an $87,000 line item because it was a full-time person, and now we've carved that up into 2 part-timers.
any idea what the 5,000 advertising is there?
They're under like a state wetlands law, so a lot of the advertising has to do with bylaw, with hearing notices and stuff like that. So I think that's what the advertising for.
Moving along.
Hold on one second, I believe Rachel Lai has joined us.
Oh. Forgot about Zoomland.
But she's just kind
Paid
of,
any attention.
We know all the names that are on there. Thanks, kid. Thanks, Roberta. Thanks for hanging out.
Ryan Jetty, he's
oh, I lost her. She's a panelist. She's, Rachel Lai, can you hear us?
I can. Hi, good evening.
Rika, what's your advertising for?
It is for all of our permitting. So we are required under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and then local charter as well to do legal ad fees for all of our permits. So all of the abutters within 300 feet can get notified of future projects. And then how that account works is we pay it and then we get reimbursed.
anything else? Anybody here? No? Thank you, Rick Line. Moving on.
Board of Appeals?
Huh?
Just making a
ZBA.
joke. Just making a joke. Yep. What do you?
Do have a transcriber.
Yeah, they do. Actually, they have an admin that does the minutes for them. Casey.
She does the.
Yeah, there's a part-time person in Gus's budget that just exclusively does ZBA. This is for advertising here, and as you can see, it's only a couple $1,000s. This actually will probably continue to go down to almost zero, because for a lot of our legal ads, we can do them electronically now because we've got a home rule petition through the legislature. Certain things still can't be done via electronic, and so each of these budgets still has a few $1,000s or a couple $1,000s in it for those unique situations. But it's only a couple thousand.
Required that they be published in a local newspaper that nobody read. So now it's just.
There's still some very odd exceptions to that, so we have to still do a little bit of it. But we did save about $30,000 or $40,000 on legal ads in the last couple of years from that legislation. So. Townwide, I should say, townwide.
Planning and growth.
Yep.
Do I see
Meet our new
some-
Director of Planning and Community Development, Marina. She'll come up here in a minute. Where she is? Here she is.
Hi, everyone. Marina Flyer, Director of Planning.
I think what you see here is a budget decrease. And the reason why you see a big budget decrease is because her department, before she got here, was another one of the cuts that was made from the override failure. So this is where it starts to have an impact on, economic development. The EDC has recently talked about this, but that's why you see in FY25 a $386,000 budget, and now you see it at $315,000. Just one full-time staff member down from last year.
The $10,000 advertising?
So historically, that's been used to essentially sell the town and sell the different districts that we have to try to entice businesses to come to actually move into our industrial parks and to bring in that revenue that we need. So it's been, as the previous director was sort of retired, it sort of slowed down a little bit, but we're trying to ramp that back up to try to bring some of that economic development that we're trying to get in.
And has that been successful? I would see that in '25 it was 4,000 and it ramped up to 10,000, which is a pretty significant jump. So
That's what was that was what's spent in 25. If you look in 24, it was 7,400. So some of those expenses those years they just didn't spend it, but that's the actual versus what was budgeted.
So you don't plan on spending the 10? My question still is, do you see benefit from this $10,000?
Yes, we do see benefit, and I do plan to spend it.
Okay. And what benefits?
We're about 50% of the way through right now. I think we've spent 5.
About 5.
Yeah.
So you've seen more, I'm guessing, you've seen more businesses come in than historically, or what's?
I don't know that that's one of those numbers that you can directly point at and say this is what this magazine article directly got us this business to come in. I don't know that we're ever going to have that sort of data on a large scale. But it does get our name out. I can say that I've been in the position for 6 months. And every single meeting I go to, every single person I speak to, somebody has a story about Replay. And someone has a story about a positive development in Franklin. So I think all of these little things sort of help to sell the town and to get our name out and to attract folks to come live here and to open businesses here.
Anybody else?
Question.
Yes.
What's the vacancy rate in the industrial parks? Do you know that, James?
No clue.
No clue?
No clue. This is a memo I put out, and I'll be happy to share it with you guys for the EDC the other night. This has been a department that has systemically gone through cuts over the years. We don't have any dedicated economic development staff. We don't have any dedicated staff that really can manage or monitor that level of data sets. Just for illustration, she's a department of 3. So the town planner, Amy, really most, if not all, of her job is dedicated to managing the planning board applications and the actual board meetings. There's obviously an admin in the office to coordinate a whole variety of activities across multiple departments and one department head. So anything that, like that type of stuff, which I agree I would love to have on the tip of my fingers, we should. There should be a lot of things like factoids that we have to know about our economic development profile. But we can't put it all on one person. There's a whole variety of other things that they have to do, staffing 3 or 4 committees. The economic development work was predominantly being done by myself and Amy Frigiletti when we had the deputy town administrator position. So half of my time was spent doing that stuff. 8, 9 years ago, we would have that data. 7, 8 years ago, we would have relationships, and we'd have more like we'd get an annual meeting with the hotels, and we would do a lot more work with economic development. But since we don't really have anyone dedicated to just that, it's been hard to stay on top of things like that.
Okay, so that's a potential opportunity sometimes.
Absolutely, especially with Thermo Fisher and a couple of large businesses reorganizing and leaving. There's going to be some pretty large spaces that are available up in Forge Park and around town. And there are some good economic development areas in town, but I think we also know there's a lot of concerns in the community with development. So, you know, I mean, I think that's something that at some point people are going to have to wrestle with in the community. You can't keep growing. People don't want to grow.
But you're already there. You have a vacant space.
Yeah.
You fill it, you get more value out of that building with a full space.
Well, a good example is on Grove Street. We worked with the Baker administration and Netta, the cannabis company down in Grove Street, and we compiled together, there was a warehouse renovation at I think 210 Grove. And that was a revitalized building down there, which brings new growth. Well, then UPS became the tenant. Through that, you get trucks. People don't like the trucks. So even though you have a space that's there, still even bringing in new businesses isn't necessarily always popular. Right? So it is what it is, but this is something the community has to talk about and reconcile with. The secret to that story was the developer, as part of that mitigation, gave us $100,000 that we then invested in a consultant that then got us $2.5 million to rebuild all of Southern Grove Street. So, and built the trails connected to the SNET, so we were doing a lot of community development work down there. That's all great investment, right? We didn't spend any real town money on that at all, but we were able to leverage $3.5 million through NETA and UPS and the state with a MassWorks grant to rebuild that whole area. And so that's pretty good work for no taxpayer money, really. But there's some trucks that come through, so.
Anything else? Easy night. Short night.
Agricultural Commission.
I'm sorry?
Agricultural Commission. Agricultural Commission was what was next, was what I was saying, yeah, sorry.
Back in.
Questions on the AgCom?
That was just a rant.
I don't want to say that.
$250, right, Ryan? Like just
$50.
$50.
And he's got to go.
All right, public property and buildings. Here's one of your big five. So I'm sure Kevin will come up and introduce John. Or you can sit here. Okay. Where do you guys want to start? Well, I mean, you got the, okay, so if you look up here at the, or at, you got a personnel line item, right, that's going up a little over $100,000. That's all of your custodians, that's all of your maintenance and trades team, that's your central admin staff. Just as a quick historical footnote, Kevin just got here 3 years ago. We never had a deputy facilities director ever before. God bless Kevin for coming and that the council approved that. Just want to thank Mike D'Angelo, our former facilities director, for 30 plus years. It's actually a good analogy to the assistant town manager, to John's question earlier. Everything for 30 years was in Mike D'Angelo's head. And if Kevin weren't here really for 2 or 3 years, shadowing Mike, learning from Mike, finding out where behind every crevice and every door and every cavern and every... Mike D'Angelo is probably one of the most important staff members we've ever had. He rebuilt every single building in this community except for the police station. He's built every school in this town, the high school, Kellis Sylvan, Forest Man. And he was a one-man show for a long time. And if Kevin hadn't come in at the time that he did, we'd be in absolutely real big trouble right now. Mike retired a little early after 30 some odd years of service, and we wish him all the best and all of our love. But what you see here in the personnel line item is a fairly modest increase of just over 110, maybe about 110,000 for 50, 60 employees. And then you get into the real story, expenses. Things were pretty good before the pandemic. Inflation in 2022 really wreaked havoc on the budget. Kevin's got some factoids he'll speak to in a minute about electricity rates, gas rates, and everything. But this manages 1.3 million square feet of building. 1 million of that are schools. We have accounts, and if you need it, we can break down every building by month, by actual and costs across the board. As you can see over time, the story really with facilities is two-pronged. One, the buying power of facilities has dried up quite a bit because inflation has really sucked a lot of the life out of the budget from utilities. But then also they withstood a cut last year of $400,000 to the facilities budget after the failed override. So we just hired a new deputy director of facilities, John, who's in the back. We'll give a little wave. John's been here for 2 weeks. Kevin just had his third child the other day. Congratulations to Kevin for his young little boy. After two daughters, he got the son. And we'll be wishing him a nice break here in a couple weeks for a little while to spend time with his family. So another good reason why John's here. And we're glad to have the whole, not a full team yet. I think the plumber is soon.
Plumber's on board.
Electrician. So we've got one more to fill, and then I think we're at full staff. Pretty close. Other than a couple of, custodians. But
No, custodians are full.
custodians are full?
We need part-timers.
Part-timer? Go for it. I don't know what to tell you.
right on cue.
So, do you have any idea, you may not know the answer to this question, and it's fair if you don't, but do you have any concept or even a guess as to how much of these costs go towards the buildings that the town owns, but we aren't actually using? Like the school, what's that school?
Davis Thayer.
Davis Thayer.
Yeah.
Former school, Davis Thayer. The former
Parmenter?
Parks, or the rec department, that's now over at Parmenter.
Yep.
For the previous use of that space. So like buildings that we own, there's probably other buildings that we own that I don't even know about. But buildings that we own that aren't actually used, that we.
Davis Thayer is about a $200,000 a year cost.
So about $200,000.
Roughly. For Davis Thayer. Yeah.
For Davis Thayer.
Just for Davis Thayer. Yep.
That would come off of this
Correct.
budget if we didn't have that
Correct.
building. And then do you have any idea about the other one, the former rec department?
Well, that one's a little bit more in transition. So that one is going to be going out at some point likely for a lease or a situation to try to bring in revenue. But right now they're not using it, so we're not spending any money there for electricity and stuff. I mean, we're using the bare minimum, so Kevin may have a real number. But I looked it up the other day because in a leasing situation, we spend about $12,000 a month on all the utilities, $1,200 a month, excuse me, on all the utilities at that. When it's full service, it's about $1,250 a month, the utilities at Beaver Street, at the rec center. But we're still using the back building. So it's really the only vacant building is the one on top.
Okay.
So we're still actively using that, and at some point I would think that would probably get leased out. Davis Thayer is obviously another ball of wax. I think there's just simply been an indecision in the community about what to do with that, and that is a big decision. I mean,
But I think the community needs to understand that that's a $200,000.
We've said this since they closed the school. I think you're right, Shannon. Like conversations like this, hopefully, if people make it to the third, fourth hour of this meeting, they'll realize that the $200,000 is in there. But I think we have talked about that through the Davis Thayer Reuse Committee. We've talked about that every year at budget season. I think people do know, and I will tell you, the counselors know. They definitely know there's a cost associated with that. The former counselors knew, the current counselors know. Still, to make that decision on an asset of that volume is going to be a big decision, but there will be a small savings in the budget once that's sold. But it's a big decision to obviously sell the property.
I don't think 200,000 is small, but
Okay.
because could you hire a teacher for $200,000?
Good. But the asset that you hold is very valuable.
But if we're not doing anything with it, what value is it?
It holds value because the property is just escalating in value because of the location. The building obviously is not gaining a lot more value because it's just sitting there being vacant. And at some point, the community has to decide, do they want housing there? Do they want to knock the building over? There's a lot of people with very passionate views that the police station should be there. There's a lot of people with passionate views that the police station shouldn't be there. I'm just saying, like, I'm not doubting that it's not a lot of money, but, still, it's a big decision. If you're the one voting on the other side of the rostrum and you're a counselor and you're voting on that, that's just a big decision that's far more valuable than the money you're putting into it to maintain the utility.
Don't underestimate on that particular building the sentimental value. I mean,
They're gonna get rid of it at some point in the next couple of years.
Right.
They're definitely gonna sell it or do something. But I just think, and that money will come off the books at some point. But that money will get easily replaced with something else. But I just don't want to understate the size and scope, not just the sentimental value, but also what are you doing there? If it's 4-story housing, there's probably going to be some people that are upset. we've had bids come in on conceptual designs about, how do you rebuild that while using the facade? Can you get somebody to renovate it? We've done 3 studies ourselves on the building. We've spent way too much money, in my opinion, as a town studying that building. I've been against studying this building because they started studying it in 2013. Can't believe, right?
But my question is, at what point do we stop that then?
You talk to the town council and tell them that's your top priority. Really?
Right, but you say that it has value, and I still don't see, other than sentimental value, it doesn't have any actual value that is bringing money into the community, correct?
I was proposing a pickleball center.
I would vote for it.
I was.
But
We
it's
would have been
just-
cash cow right now, but yeah.
It's just
Yes,
sitting.
it is
It's
just
not
sitting there.
bringing in any money.
Correct.
And it's costing money.
Yes, but it's still an asset you have to spend money on to maintain it to some level to get a good value on return when you sell it.
Right, I'm not saying we should just abandon doing anything with it.
You want to sell
But
it.
I'm saying we need to get rid of it, or, use it for another, if you make it a police station, then we have to figure out what to do with the police station. This is all getting off track, but the question is, how much money could we save to teachers' work if we didn't have
Right.
this cost?
That's right.
It's not a small amount.
No, it's not a small.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Are there any other buildings? Are those the only 2 that aren't being used?
No?
No,
I just-
both of them, it's probably DT and then 275 Beaver Street.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'll just second Shannon and the town councilors who are watching, it should be a top priority.
Yeah, and then I just want to let everybody know, you gotta, and I'll just because others were watching and because we need to hear it while we're on camera, these are the hardest, and these are the most challenging and difficult requests for proposals to draft and put out. This is not a private sector transaction where you just find somebody, hey, they're gonna buy it, price is good with me, you schlep it off, everybody makes a ton of money, and corporate America goes off and smokes cigars and has fun. This is not that kind of deal. This is an incredibly difficult RFP to do, because I will guarantee there'll be people the first bid that will go out will be an attempt at probably trying to resurrect or maintain the building, and you try it. Then you come back, nobody bids, it's not financially feasible, then you sell the whole building. But even if you sell the parcel of land, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to comment. And if we're looking holistically at the voices, I just want to manage people's expectations. I think there's prospects that this is going to be dealt with in the next 2 years. I'm very confident of that. So I think either this year or in FY28, you'll see some change on this. I just want to manage and make sure, not to you guys even necessarily on the FinCom, but just people watching, this is a very, very complicated endeavor to do.
I agree. I was just going to say, last year, before you were on, I specifically asked, I was like, can we set a timeline on it? Like, we need a deadline. And I think that just hasn't happened. And I know even Max was here, he used to come to our meetings a lot, he's on council now. He spoke and he was like, agreed. So it's like they know, but it's not.
There's an executive session on the matter that we've held, so I've got direction, but I don't, also, this comes to bandwidth. I'm sorry, I know I'll harp on it, and you'll hear me say it a million times. I got me and that's it. If I had a deputy town administrator, a lot of these other types of projects, either that I'm doing could be done by somebody else, or they could be doing things like this. And it's like getting the MBTA parking lot next to the Children's Museum. It's like working with CSS on the SNET trail, getting the track up. I mean, there's so many things that I end up doing, but these take many working groups among the staff, because when you put out an RFP for Davis Thayer, you also have to put in there the zoning that you're going to put in. Right now, it's single-family houses. I don't think that's the highest and best use of that parcel. You're not going to get the best money return on selling that property for single-family homes. So you're going to have to do multi-family homes. And those are pretty unpopular, last time I checked. So there's a zoning code you have to put in the RFP. There's going to be a decision by the council. They're probably going to have to do something like downtown commercial or a GR5 zoning district, which is a dense district, to maximize the value of that parcel in 3.5 acres. And those are going to be contentious issues. So I will agree, there is movement. We've had an executive session on the matter. I've definitely got some direction. But, there's only so much time in a week to put this stuff in. But Shannon's point is well taken. $200,000 in the budget, if it was sold off and it was not on the books and we didn't own it, would be a good savings in the budget for sure. Absolutely.
And then my last question, I'm sure that you have anticipated this sitting back there. What can you cut? There's a lot of money here, but is there anything you can cut, any positions you would if you had to, you absolutely have to?
There is a lot of money there, but I can't. I mean, from a very high level, the facilities budget, I like to break it up into thirds. A third of it is the staff, it's the team that manages, the whole facilities department. The other third of it is just in electricity and natural gas alone.
Yeah, I understand you don't have any, you can't cut those costs.
Well, which kind of brings to, Jamie alluded to it earlier, I kind of went back and I looked from FY18 to up until now. And our department head, since FY18, has an increase of 30% overall. Our budget went up, which is great. But electricity supply rates and natural gas supply rates between then and now also went up significantly. Just the supply rate, not the delivery charges, but electricity went up 37, almost 40%, and natural gas doubled. So if a third of the budget is just in electricity and natural gas alone, and if the budget increases 30%, I still haven't taken out trash, water, sewer, paid the phone bill. There's a lot of other assets as well that need taken care of, preventative maintenance, and priority with those are typically life safety equipment, generators, fire alarm, sprinklers, rooftop units, air handlers, boilers. You hope that the roof doesn't leak. I can't. There's no room.
Did we go down any custodians when we went down schools? We reduced down to schools?
There was attrition through retirements and other things, yeah.
We are down 3 positions.
Yeah.
We didn't end up having to lay off because of some changes, but we lost 3 positions overall.
And those savings were realized like in those years that they were surplus.
I do have a few. So, just a couple of quick questions. I know we don't control rates in water and all that kind of stuff, but I see a big jump in the water. Just wondering what that is and what we are looking at. Was there something added on or new sprinkler systems? I'm just trying to figure out, because I understand what you're talking about, we don't really control those, but it looks like there was a significant increase in the water, or not in the other utilities that you just talked about.
I imagine when I looked at or developing the budget, I really kind of focused on actuals. I imagine I can follow up with that. I believe the rates went up.
Okay, just because it's 100,000. So that seems like a third of. Yeah, that's a hefty rate increase. So that is just something that I would look at as maybe it's just a typo. But if I look at the years past, it looks like a significant jump. Unless there's something, like I said, unless there's something that constitutes that, but that's a significant jump.
So water rates did increase, just like residents 8%. So what page are you looking at?
I'm on the expenses, under services, under water. So it looks like we budgeted 55 this year. Year before was 260 for an actual, and now we're budgeting 357. So that's far beyond the 8%. So, and it might just be like a typo or something. I'm just curious, or there might be something that we added on that increases our water volume. I just was curious about that. Stormwater, can you talk to us about that? Because we have a lovely stormwater fee and an enterprise account, so just kind of wondering what that is in your budget.
I know from facilities we pay stormwater, we have a stormwater, expense just like everyone else does.
That's the stormwater based off that's for all the 1.3 million square feet of facility that we own. That's our
Oh, so that's the fee that we pay too. So this is literally a transfer from one account to another.
Literally a transfer from one account to another. Yep.
That was good. Thank you. Equipment. So your equipment maintenance went up 30,000. So I'm just, and I know that we approved some new equipment at some capacity where, I'm not quite sure, but I know there were definitely excavators that I voted on. So just wondering, I can't remember, it's been a long night. But I'm just wondering, 30,000 for maintenance, if our equipment isn't that dire, do we have a useful life schedule, or replacing specific things? Or is that just tune-ups and getting the equipment ready?
So when they talk about, so the line item for equipment maintenance, this could be equipment as in generators, or equipment maintenance. It could be it's not fire alarm, but sprinklers, or heating systems, or just our facilities equipment that we maintain.
So I get, meaning like, just the cost to, like, we have a plumber and an electrician on staff, so it's not contracting people.
No, we do.
Oh, we do.
We have contracts with a lot,
So you contract for maintenance on the equipment?
almost everything. We have to.
Yeah, a lot of our in-house plumber, carpenter, electrician, the majority of what they're doing, it's preventative maintenance, but maintenance that's, it's more work order based that's coming through the day.
Okay. And then the next one I have a question on is contracting services, so that's the 150,000. So that's an increase of 150, sorry. So that's again a significant amount. So is that something specific that we're looking at as far as contracting services for next year? Or you're just increasing your general fund?
So if you go back and look,
Yeah.
you'll notice again in FY20, let me see here, just making sure I can read the right line item. So those are restored services from the previous cuts. So if you look at those line items, those were some of the line items that took the big shed of the cuts from last year. So some of those are probably coming back for some of those line items to where they were in FY25 or 24. His budget took a pretty good cut multiple years throughout the last 5 or 6 years. So I think there probably is some level of trying to bring those items back to what they were budgeted for before those cuts are made.
But we were able to do the work, so I'm just trying to figure out if there's.
Well, that's subjective. I mean, we could have done the work, but I think depending on who you talk to and how fast we get the work done and when we get the work done, particularly the school facilities, it depends on how you view that.
Okay.
Whether you think we got the job done.
Contracting services, or that's everything?
All of this is all the school buildings too.
No, I know, but it's not just contracting services in schools, all of it.
Exactly.
Okay. So some of this is just restoring back to.
Correct.
Okay. And then the last one was the custodial supplies at 32,000. That just seems significant, but I guess if we're just trying to go back to our 2025 self, 2020 self, then that's what that is too.
I'm wondering, did that get broken out maybe?
No, it did a little bit. You went down a little bit on your electrical and lighting supplies, but not to this extent, 32,000.
Yeah.
So, okay, so these were all,
The wave maintenance that we're catching up on?
no, these are line items for contracted services and
Yeah,
supplies.
but you could still delay the contracting service. Just don't call it, I would think. I don't.
And then my last question goes to your deputies, because I love that title. So you have 3 deputies, so just talk to me about the scope of work that requires 3, because I think that's the most, actually, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you're the department with the most deputies.
So we have a deputy of trades and maintenance, Steve O'Neill, manages the work order system. He oversees the trades guys, which is the carpenter, plumber, and as soon as needed, electrician. Richard Gaskin is our deputy of custodial maintenance. He oversees the entire custodial staff and team. And John in the back is our deputy director of facilities, who works alongside myself and supports managing a lot of the day-to-day stuff, as well as being involved with a a lot of the other capital projects that we're going to have going on moving forward.
And
So
when,
these were all titles that were redone during the comp and class study 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
so we've always had three?
We've always had those positions. We didn't necessarily have the titles.
Right,
But to try to
assistant. We had facilities.
We never had an assistant director for facilities. What we did have, Richard Gaskin was a different title 4 years ago. And then when we did the comp and class study and we looked at other comparable districts and all that stuff, we gave him a deputy director title of custodial services because his full-time job is managing, obviously, the entire custodial system. And he also oversees all the purchasing of the cleaning supplies and all of that different work. That's a unionized environment as well, so there's obviously going to be other tangential issues relative to HR and whatnot. Steve O'Neill's the deputy director. We used to have a different title for that position as well. That was Marco. You may remember Marco Mercado. Marco's was that position. And when we moved to that, now Steve oversees all the vendors, all the Jasco and all the other vendors that we come in to deal with the work orders for what we used to call School Dude, which I know you're familiar with, but now it's not called School Dude anymore, it's called something else. We bought a new system or a new program. Operations Hero. We go from School Dude to Operations Hero. These are super fun. And so Steve oversees the 3 trades guys and then all of the vendors that have to come in and do work. Now, John and Kevin also oversee some of that, depending on what the project is. If it's limited with the senior center, if it's a capital project, it might be them. But really also what Mike, D'Angelo, and Kevin and John also do is also what's called Chapter 149. So they're dealing with the OPMs for the police station. They would deal with an OPM for Remington Jefferson. They have to do public bidding documents, procurements, lay out all of that stuff. And so we've created a structure to try to decentralize that work because at one point it was literally just Mike. So we've tried to create a system where there's at least more attention given to those day-to-day projects, and that's how the kind of breakdown works at a high level.
That makes sense. So my last question, just to kind of go off of Shannon's, now that I have a better sense of where you could cut. So you said you couldn't cut anywhere, but then we just went through 6 line items that there was no definite answer as to what those increases were for, more of a restorative kind of process where the cuts were. So I guess I would ask you again, if there was an opportunity for you to cut some of that funding in some of those line items, would that be something you'd be able to do?
I'd have to say no. And I apologize again, but I think it'd probably be more of me still diving into exactly what's within the line items themselves.
So time so that you can understand what that 100,000 for water and whatnot is?
No, I feel confident looking at what was expended and what was budgeted because we also redistricted, and the way that the line items and the accounts are set up, like for an example, there used to be an account for Remington and an account for Jefferson.
Yep.
And after we redistricted it, it's now Washington Elementary. There was some shuffling around with how we budget all of building maintenances or equipment maintenances or other contractual services. So funds were shifted around. I feel very confident in what was budgeted, but trying to decipher where, a bill that was for security camera replacements or door repairs or, I've spoken with the finance team as far as potentially just, renaming some of these different accounts rather than having, building maintenance, equipment maintenance, building maintenance services, building maintenance, so that it's a little bit more, it's less cumbersome to navigate.
Maybe we can add some more specifics or something like that.
Well, that's it. I mean, like I said, they're big increases, so I would suspect that anytime there's a big increase, like if I ever asked for $100,000 in one line item, I would be expected to itemize that out pretty specifically before I would be able to get that kind of cash, right? And there's several items that are 32,000, 50,000, 150, 100. So those are significant increases. So I would just hope that if someone's coming to the table with that kind of increase, there would be some details to support it rather. And I understand, you know, what you're saying about going back and trying to recoup some of that cost cut that was done. But again, it's really for people to understand where that money is going, those tangibles is really important when we talk about open.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll get some of those answers to those questions, and we'll bring it tomorrow night when the schools are here. And we'll talk about it in concert with the redistricting process and see if there's something that we can try to help everybody understand a little bit better.
Thanks, George.
I guess to piggyback on that, I think I kind of heard two different answers to the same question, and I think that's maybe confusing me. Are we restoring back to some level of service from before the failed override, or not?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers from 24, 25, and I'm taking a guess as I'm sitting here looking. But like I said, we'll have to just go back and look at the numbers, and we'll bring them tomorrow night.
Okay.
And just sharpen it up a little bit and just give it a little bit more specifics of exactly what that is. That's just, again, my guess looking at it. Because again, when you cut line items one year, but then he is right, the redistricting might have shuffled some accounts around. You've seen that on some other budgets where we've taken money and moved them around to different accounts and different things. And, you know, the water thing, there was a rate increase that seems maybe a little high, but we just got to obviously get some specifics for everybody, so we'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just unclear on, like, we didn't pass an override, so why would we be restoring services to the level they were before cuts that we had to make because we didn't have an override? Like, that just, like, seems kind of counterintuitive to be restoring if we didn't get any net new source funding to restore them.
Right. Right.
So, like, if it is a reorganization, I think to this point that we made, we need some details because it's a $300,000 increase just in the expenses.
Right.
A couple line items stand out as being more. I think the total converse question, so that's like the, you know, negative side of it, but you had one of the most extensive lists in the capital discussion that we had. And there was a lot of things in there that like felt like they could go either way. Like, we need to replace a boiler here and this, that, and, you know, when we kind of deferred them all. We said, like, no, we're not doing most of this. Are those now baked into what's here? Or are those still going to be on your capital list like, the next time we review that?
I mean, I definitely like to anticipate, you know, and budget for, you know, any equipment that may need replacing or repair work. I mean, there's still larger projects I'd like to get ahead of and would get put in capital.
I guess, like, specifically from the list we reviewed, it was 3 months ago, did any of those projects make their way into this proposed budget, or are those still all sitting in limbo on capital requests?
I think those would all be still on the list. I mean, we didn't add in here like tier 2 item. You know, we didn't add in here a project that was on the tier 2 list or tier 3 list into the budget. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking. Because like a lot of those seem like they were like, effectively.
I mean, I'm looking down at the accounts, and I think Shannon, somebody just says that the overall expense line item budget went up $300,000 across the board. There are accounts in here that also decreased 50 grand, 10 grand, 8 grand. Like, I think there's a shuffling in here of some sort, to Kevin's point, but I think it's probably just more advantageous if we get the specifics and we'll just bring it back tomorrow night. And maybe the schools might have some information that might be based out of this too.
So I guess I'm trying to ask about the converse. Like, I've moved off $300,000.
Okay.
Like,
I see.
That project list seems like it had things that we were saying could wait, but not that couldn't be done. Are there any of those that need to be done this year? Like, that need to be added, that we're again kind of just not adding because we don't have money to add, but like they have to happen?
I mean, like, I definitely, you know, looking ahead at, you know, like the boilers over at, you know, Washington Street Elementary, they need a lot of love. So I would anticipate putting a little bit more in the budget towards, building or equipment maintenance for Washington Street.
So could you come back tomorrow, I guess, with like a review of your tier 2 list of what of those items like absolutely have to happen in the next fiscal year?
Let's look up the facilities.
Right, like, just that same list you already presented, like just what has to happen.
So it was senior center was number 1. New style was a small amount. The Washington Street chiller compressor, the FHS chiller coil replacement, right? These were all the the DPW garage camera upgrades, the Bent Street tower safety equipment. I mean, I think what you're asking is, do we have to budget the Washington Street chiller compressor replacement right now?
Like, are there items we should just be adding here because like they have to happen, or acknowledging?
Because what you could,
not adding here,
what he's trying to say is, if you could pay 2 capital items out of the operating, which you can do, which we do at the end of every fiscal year.
I'm trying to ask you what you want to add, and I feel like it's being taken like.
No, well, I'm confused in the sense where like I wouldn't, right, like this is the operating budget, right?
Sure, but like you have a whole bunch of other maintenance and replacement items in here. So our line of operating versus capital is like as fluid as a jellyfish. Like this is
well,
like that is, we do not use it that way. We use it, and we didn't have the money to do those projects, so we're going to ask in the capital budget.
We're not usually spending out of the operating budget $100,000 on a one-time project, right? We may fix the water bubblers, and it may cost $7,000 to fix the water bubblers for whatever reason, right?
Sure.
So, and to be, I mean, it's just, there's no rhyme or reason to all of that, other than how can the budget absorb $200,000 in coil replacements or compressor replacements?
I don't know that it can. I'm just asking, what should we be considering for, should we try to move it? Because we need to do it.
It's a good question. I can't say it is a very good question. This is the same issue we have with tasers, the same issue we have with bulletproof vests, the same thing. Like, this gets to your point at the beginning of the meeting about an override. Right, you're looking at 2 million, but you're really looking at 5 when you add in him and facility and all this other stuff, 6, 7. But to the Natalie's point earlier, like that's where eventually this conversation in here, to Shannon's point, and I couldn't agree with her more, but this conversation in here from you guys and everybody else has got to move out there to the community, and hopefully that'll happen after this budget process goes through.
And I'm not proposing that we would add them to your operating budget.
Right.
But we would effectively earmark them in what are we saying we need to hold in free cash? Or how are we looking at our free cash? Because it's our only plug that we're trying to plug in everywhere. Like, what do we need to reserve and say, like, whether it's operating or capital, who cares? It has to go towards that project, and so it's effectively spent already. Right? Like
You're spot on. This is like, I mean, for Natalie and George and others that have been around doing this, this is a conversation we've had. You're tapping into something that we've talked about for many years, but when you have failed overrides, it really limits your ability to do anything. And as you can see, there's, and aside from the water or like a couple things, we've made it through a pretty substantial portion of the budget, and we're not looking at like saving $2 million here, right? So or at least from my vantage point, I'm not hearing of a
I've got a list of $1 million so far.
What's that?
I've got a list of $1 million.
Okay, you could. Okay. So maybe we are.
Yeah, at the beginning, I ballparked a couple things. All I'm saying is facilities was not on here, right? I said Chromebooks, the police cruiser and whatever, and vests and that stuff, and ice stabilization.
Yeah.
Like, if you had a line item on here of what should we be holding, sacred for facilities, what would that number be? Because at the moment I have $1 million that I'm saying I think I would like to hold.
Yeah.
Does that need to be $1.2 million? Does it need to be $1.6 million? Like, what is the facilities number that goes with that, where we've pushed you into capital, but again, like,
I see what
capital
you're
versus
saying.
operating?
That's a mature fiscal policy question, to be honest with you. We've never gotten to this level. We've never had the bandwidth financially, but we've never, Ryan, historically, we've never even gotten anywhere. We've never had the financial bandwidth to get to a conversation where we're talking about $1 million, I'm making up, $1 million line item in the expense line item of the facilities department for annual capital one-time appropriations. same argument you're making with police and fire. You say, okay, and I'm making up the number again, you have $500,000 a year structurally in the fire department for turnout gear, for protective gear, for whatever. There's $500,000 in the budget every year for the cruisers, tasers, bulletproof vests, and those are ammunition, like whatever, right? And so we've never had anywhere close to this type of mature conversation. In my 11 years here, this is my 11th budget, never come close to this. So I'm just saying that we wouldn't be prepared to answer this because
Can we get there for tomorrow is all I'm asking. Is
absolutely.
Come back with some details on some of those. Can we also get the if I can only do the critical projects for my capital list, it's still going to cost this, whether we have that discussion tomorrow or in the next capital review, which is what, August?
Tomorrow would be great because a lot of these projects are certainly school-based. And so we can get the input of the school district while we're there as to how they would, where would this fit in the priority?
Can I butt in here?
No, it's great.
We did kind of a normal witching hour. For instance, the council stops at 3 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, unless they have a vote. We don't have that rule. I think Nat and I just chatted a little bit. There's been, Felicia's down to 1 from 3, and I have no idea what the Council on Aging has shrunk up to. Do we want to push through and get this done? Yes, I'm getting a lot of noise. I think we're willing to push through.
Well, I have a couple.
He's coming back tomorrow. You
Is he coming?
When we say push through, what do we have to?
So we're gonna continue, so that they can all, because they can wait.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
Just comes back tomorrow? Yeah.
Could we let him go? If he has to come back tomorrow anyway, I have no questions.
Sure.
Can we let him go and do these other ones?
Yes.
And then
We have Brian,
he can
senior
get a good night's
center.
sleep and be prepared for doing some little fun things before he goes for fighting or.
You know what you're doing tomorrow now. So can we do that? I don't know who's up next up.
Board of Health? Board of Health.
No.
Board of Health is done.
Oh, that's what I missed. Sorry, I didn't.
Don't forget about purchasing.
Purchasing.
It should be pretty.
One
If
person.
you can say it in 10 words instead of 15.
Oh, I already checked.
Hello, I'm Pam Hickory, I'm the Chief Procurement Officer. So with my budget for next year, the big change I think that you see is for equipment rental and lease. Basically, historically, on the town side, we have purchased our copiers, our digital copiers. Central Services comes under the purchasing, it's kind of a combined department, purchasing and central services. We're going to be moving over to a lease arrangement. What has happened is most of the copiers we have are, many of the copiers we have are pretty old, and they're falling out of contract with Rico. It's difficult to get parts. And after thinking about it in a lot more detail and doing some research, we've come to the conclusion that it's going to be a lot cheaper in the long run to move to a lease arrangement. With the lease, it also includes the cost of the toner, and we'll be sure that every department has copiers that are working well. So that's really the biggest change, I think, in the budget for next year, is moving over to that. If you look at what was planned for the equipment rental and lease for this year, we did bump it, but we bumped it up to 16 because the original plan was that we were going to start moving into some leases this year, which we didn't do. I hope that explains.
And Pam did significant research on this, whether to purchase or lease, and brought it to Jamie, Evan, and I. It's quite extensive, and it's available if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, just for next year, or for fiscal 27, we're going to be changing over 7 copiers. The plan is to change over 7 copiers. 3 were installed in 2015, 3 were installed in 2016, and 1 was in 2017. If we were going to purchase those, it would come to over $52,000, and including the cost of copying, because we do have to pay 5 cents a copy for a color copy, and .0065 for a black and white copy. So the lease price plus the copying cost is $25,700. So it's a big difference, and we won't run into these situations where you can't get the parts and it's difficult to do the repairs.
Joy? Is this, do you have central copiers? Or do you have copiers in every building?
So we don't have a ton of copiers. We do have copiers in every building. Nobody has to go from, like the DPW doesn't have to go to a different place to do their copies or anything like that. We don't have a ton of them. In this building, we have 4, 5. But they were all different sizes, like in the mailroom and the payroll area, the big machines that would cost over $10,000 if we were going to purchase them. And some departments have some that only cost like $4,000.
Have you looked at centralizing printing from local computers? So that, like, Jamie doesn't have 2 on his desk, he has to go.
We
do.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we do.
Oh, yeah.
have,
I don't have a personal printer or anything. We don't, very, very few of those. Yeah, we have all centralized printing.
yeah.
Thank you.
All I have is this laptop. I don't even have another screen.
Yeah,
Really?
I wonder if you could just remark on the amount of usage each of these gets. It just seems kind of odd. Like, I haven't printed anything in like a professional capacity since COVID. So I know that the government is probably an entirely different animal.
It is.
There's more printing involved, but you can just talk to the usage.
Yeah, I mean, we do use the copiers a lot, and I think many departments are trying to move over to digital copies. I know I'm trying to do that, but unfortunately, sometimes you have to have the hard copy of the bid specs. If someone wants to pick up the bid specs and they want the hard copy and not download it. So, I mean, they do get a fair amount of usage. We also use them for scanning as well.
I know she does a lot of bids. I get a copy of all of them. Anybody else?
Thank you.
You got Disability Commission at account 535.
Okay, Disability Commission. We've got,
And then the Council on Aging, 541.
Council on Aging. You ain't keeping old people up, you know that.
Did I skip one?
Inspection and animal control? Those not today?
Oh, yeah, those are public safety. I think. Yeah, that's tomorrow night.
You installed a member on your, member of the senior, well, actually 2 of us on the committee now.
I'm sorry, it's Wednesday night, my bad. Inspection, my bad.
No worries. Not today.
Tomorrow, I think we've all lost track.
Thank you.
All right. So, just so you know, the total dollar value of the proposal in FY27 for the senior center is a smidge under $600,000. Huh?
Great deal.
Yeah, to say the least.
Great spot, take a tour.
Right?
Yeah, okay, me too.
And to be fair, I appreciate all your questions. We know that you and Shannon both love seniors,
seniors.
just for the record.
For the AI, the AI, everyone, this entire group loves seniors.
But especially
Bold letters. Loves seniors, right.
You know, now we've got, I think when Karen Al's retired 6 years ago to today, now 40% of because of the great work Sarah's done and her predecessor and Karen, and I'll even give myself a pat on the back a little bit, and the rest of the staff. Well, nobody else does, so I figured I might as well too. So now you got, that's cute. It was 40% of the budget is basically paid for through revenues that we come in. So we'll never be 100%. you got to also remember that you can't raise fees to a level on this population because food and things, they're going there because of a variety of issues. And so it's really been a project about, thanks to Kerry and everybody on giving them the systems to put into place to collect electronic money. Remember the day where there was only cash? So it's actually been really good. And when I got down there some years ago, there was like, say, a class being done and they were paying the instructor $60, but there were no students. So why are we doing that? So a lot of that took a lot of hard work and a lot of hard conversations, and I think it's resulted in an extremely efficient value for $600,000 out of the tax levy. And obviously the other portions are brought in through formula grants, state grants, donations, fees, activities, revenues. So I don't know, that's all I got.
A question on the grant stuff.
Sure.
A lot of the staff, if you look at the list, the salaries offset by a supplemental day resolving offset. There's a whole bunch of them. Are those, considering the tenor in Washington these days, is that, those in any danger, at least in the short term?
So no, and there's 3 accounts that you'll see on our stat sheet that they're being pulled from. 2 are our revolving accounts. So when it says SUPP, that's our supported day program. So that's our program for folks with cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, dementia, and that's a paid program. So that's $75 per day, and we can have 10 people per day. So the folks that work in that program, I think we almost have fully offset their salaries. The other one is activities. So that can be anything that we run in the senior center. So the fitness classes, the parties, lunch, our van. It's basically a catch-all for everything else. And then the formula grant actually comes through the state. And we've been really lucky. For a while, the governor has supported this. We're going to older adult lobby day next month. Right now it's at $16 per senior, and it's not based on who comes to the center, it's based on census data. But unfortunately, they're still doing it off of the 2020 census, which when I work with Nancy's numbers, we'd be getting paid a lot more. So I'm waiting for 2030 for them to redo their numbers at the state level. So no, to your question, George, none of that looks in jeopardy anytime soon. I mean, I will say our own revenues have stayed pretty consistent, so I'll just continue to track those trends. I guess the flip side of that, my concern is that depending on what services, if we had to cut anything that we cut is also revenue producing. So I would have to consider that with our revolving accounts.
So just point clarification. Jamie, when you said 40% of it's offset with revenues, so as we look at this budget today, it's already net of reimbursements? Am I reading that correctly on the back page?
I think those offsets aren't reflected in the budget, Evan, is that correct?
Well, I got salaries of 540.
Is that?
Net salaries of 545, and on the,
Right, but Evan, you want to explain the offsets?
A portion of these salaries where you see the negative and then it shows a formula grant offset, a portion of that salary is directly applied to that grant.
No, I understand that. So as I looked at the tally of that column, 5 column, comes up to 545.
Yep.
If I go to the control sheet, I get 545.
Correct.
So the salaries are already at net.
Right, it's inclusive of all
Okay,
that.
got it.
Yep.
So the net's already in this number.
Correct.
I just have a
Yes,
question.
yes.
You have your own or you contract?
So both. So through a MassDOT grant that they paid a couple years ago now, but I think 80%, we were able to get a van through the state, which then, all the thing with ordering vehicles takes forever. So like 2 years later, we finally got it. So we do our own. It's a 14-passenger van, handicap accessible, can take 2 wheelchairs at a time.
Okay.
So that's being used every day, Monday through Friday. And then we also have an agreement with GATRA just because we could never keep up with the volume that's needed.
Yeah.
to provide free rides to and from the senior center, to and from the food pantry, and then a discounted rate for any Franklin residents that ride.
So that's
within
the
town.
transportation line.
That is the transportation expense line item. And that's the one that increased. That's probably our biggest increase just due to ridership increases. I actually have a full spreadsheet. I went back to GATRA management because we used to be at $1,500 a month and we're getting closer to like $2,500 to $3,000. And it's just an increase in ridership for them. So unfortunately, because we have such small expense line items, when it started to go over and wasn't following trend, I've already had conversations that we'll be able to make up for that this year, but I needed to plan for more next year, so we weren't in a deficit.
Thank you.
Maybe a Carrie question. What they collect for lunch and breakfast, does that go into the general fund? It's not netted here, correct?
It goes into the revolving.
You don't think I know that, George? Come on. They have been teaching me so well.
Lucky I can see right now.
That's all right. We have discussion group together this Thursday. So
I'll be in the last room on the right, downstairs pretty soon. Isn't that the dimension?
supportive day. Yes,
Oh,
George, just to clarify, Carrie, so that revolving account, the offsets I see are not included in the enterprise funds.
Oh, yeah, it's not an enterprise.
It's not in that, it's not in the revenue sheet.
It's not on the revenue sheet. Yep.
And that's why I pulled out this year in our budget narrative. If you go and look, we have one. I'm very proud of them this year, our bar graphs.
Yeah, no, yes, and next one.
Yeah, so you can see kind of like the different growth and what we've brought in. And I wanted to bring that to the forefront because you won't see that anywhere besides those offsets in our budget.
How many people a day? I have to ask.
It changes depending on the day of the week, but last time we pulled the average, it was 250 to 300.
How many live in Franklin?
The last time I checked, it was still about 75% to 25%. 75% Franklin residents, 25% out of town.
Hopefully the 25% is paying most of them.
They all bring in money, so, and I will just add to that because we get those questions. There is no program that will turn a Franklin resident away for an out-of-town resident. But at the same time, we have to run like a business, so if I have 9 people in supportive day, and there's 1 open seat, and there's no one on the wait list from Franklin, I'm putting someone in from Bellingham to get the $75 a day, if that makes sense.
Can you speak just briefly so that people that aren't going to read this narrative can listen and hear? You talked about what the revenue is that you're bringing in?
Yeah, absolutely.
That you're graphic just verbally?
Yeah, so I would just say quickly, like if you're looking at the core functions, there's the whole programming and community engagement. So a lot of that, I won't go too deep into it, but just loneliness and social isolation. If you look it up online, there's a lot of medical data behind that now about the health effects of social isolation, and probably 1 in 4 seniors that are 65 and above are dealing with that. I mean, just one of the stats of that is that you are at a 50% higher risk of getting dementia when you do have social isolation, stroke, heart disease, all these different things. So I think people hear like, oh, they throw these fun parties, but it really is more than that. There's science to it. It's also our open door that when someone comes to a fun event, then they realize we have a band or a grief support group or the social workers in this building. I didn't even know the town had a social worker. The nutrition and food access, our dementia-capable programming, the social services and benefit navigation, and then transportation. So the couple things I tried to show in our numbers was to show if you look at the municipal funding for us over the last 3 years, it has continued to decline, but all of our numbers in the senior center continue to rise. So I showed the last 3 years. I mean, new members in 23, we had 472. Last year we had 615. Social services were 885 in 23. They were 1295 last year. Meals served, we did about 17,600 2 years ago. We're getting close to 19,000 this last year. Same for volunteer hours, and same for, event check-ins alone 2 years ago was 37,000. We're at over 57,000 now. for event check-ins. And when you look at the census data, 20% of Franklin is 60 and above, and 20% is 50 through 59. So that's 40% of the town. Not that everyone uses our services, but if at any point they all chose to come in on the same day, we'd been in a pickle, but I would welcome them with open arms. Just don't tell the fire. Might break some rules. So I just wanted to show, and I was actually really excited when we ran these numbers, and a huge thank you to the finance team who helped us kind of clean our accounts to look at things, because I don't think the revolving accounts are really explained well. I always said we were 1/3 self-funded because that's what we were cut 2 years ago. So I knew I had to make that up somewhere. But when you look, our revolving accounts continue to increase, which just makes sense because there's just more people all the time spending more money. But that's not, those are all made from very small fees, right? Like breakfast and lunch is no more than $6. A fitness class is $4. Some of that comes in from supported day and other things that make more revenue. But when we were able to pull all of that out to show that we're 45% self-funded with those types of fees, I don't know that there's much more we can do. And with this year too, we also restructured and someone left our staff and we did not fill that role. Instead, we restructured to raise up staff we had that we thought could take on some more, and restored our nurse because we knew the town couldn't do that. And it also opened up the opportunity that we're hiring a part-time admin because social services is just off the charts. Most senior centers, even smaller than us, have 2 full-time social services. So this is kind of our stepgap to make sure that we hold on to the one that we have and she doesn't get too overwhelmed.
The social services works as licensed?
They do not have to be. Ours is
not.
No,
but are they?
Ours, they are not. We only have one, and she is not.
She's not licensed.
Mm-hmm. They usually want more money when
We might be able to go for it too.
I don't think that's the purpose of social services.
Well, I understand, but
to be fair.
it could be an opportunity.
I think most of the people we're seeing are like homeless residents and people that are applying for SNAP and those types of benefits. So I don't know that would be a strong revenue source. I'm not saying no to it, but.
It's quiet. Maybe people fell asleep.
What? Now you're calling me boring? I will see you Thursday.
Should we vote my card tonight?
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
All right. Okay, can we, Ryan, because his is a wash, and we ought to be aware of that.
Does anybody have any questions for Ryan?
Huh?
Recreation?
Recreation.
Once it gets to recreation, it gets questions.
Well, wait, first is veterans.
Every year it's a wash, right?
Yeah, but wait a minute, before we,
Oh, what am I missing?
we're missing Shannon.
Oh, I'm missing veterans.
We don't want to miss the veterans. Let's do that. And then we've got the next section after that, which is library, recreation, and so forth.
Okay.
So let's do veterans.
All right, oh, veterans.
Yep.
Go for it.
Some of them could be quick, but yeah.
Hello, my name is Shannon Nisbet, Director of Veteran Services. I'm here tonight with my coworker Deborah Martin. Deborah, wait please. So I'm sure you've all looked at our budget narrative, but I will briefly go over some key points. We're a 2-person department. Our core functions are to help veterans and their eligible family members access the resources they need and deserve, and also community building. So as far as benefits go, we do administer the Chapter 115 program. I don't know how familiar you all are with that program, but it is basically a state and town partnership where we disperse benefits to eligible clients, and the state reimburses us the next fiscal year for 75% of those expenditures. So we have seen a reduction in the number of Chapter 115 recipients over the years, as all the other towns have. There's a lot of different reasons for that. However, the biggest drop came between 2021 and 2022, and after that drop, expenses actually remained flat for a while, until this year they're looking a little bit lower. Most of our clients we are helping with VA disability claims. This is really the core benefit that most veterans should try to apply for. It's a very complex process. It involves collecting medical records, interviewing the client on multiple occasions, often having to go to the Board of Veterans Appeals, and even writing legal arguments. So this is, to this end, I am accredited by the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers on the line item expenses. That is under conferences. Those are where I'm paying, or the town is paying, for the training and accreditation fees. And that's very, very important. We also help veterans apply for VA health care, help them navigate the property tax exemptions with help from the assessor's office. We have a Veterans Property Tax Work-Off program that is managed by Deborah. We have 18 veterans in it this year. So the program, it started off pretty small at its inception, which I think was in 2022, but it's really growing. We have, in addition to looking at benefits, we have many social activities as well. Of course, we host our patriotic events every year. The Veterans Day Luncheon, the Memorial Day breakfast and ceremony. And we also work with the Veterans Council to help them with the parade. We just all collaborate together on these events. We have a monthly Veterans Council meeting and get a lot of support from this council. It's another one of our responsibilities. We have monthly veterans coffee socials with 40 to 50 veterans in attendance that Deborah is also responsible for coordinating. And we have, the list goes on. We have Warrior Within Yoga, Tune It Out guitar for vets, so many different things to help build community, which is such a protective factor for mental health and making people feel, our veterans feel seen and heard. Just circling back a little bit to the benefits provisions, we do get a lot of difficult situations that come across our way. Deborah is always the front line when people call our office, and listening to people's stories and helping triage situations and starting that process of building relationships and building trust. And so with these situations that can be more difficult, especially involving housing or finances, we do provide case management where we meet with clients, sometimes on a monthly, sometimes even on a weekly basis. We'll sit there for hours and make all the phone calls and fill out all the applications that have to get done just to try to get them in a better position and get them all the resources they require. So Deborah also manages our Veterans Memorial Walkway and the brick purchases, which you may sometimes see the brick order forms at Town Hall. She does a great job with that. You know, people are very excited to get their bricks, and she just does a fantastic job with everything. So we have some revolving funds, the Veterans Gift Fund, the Franklin Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund, and we also have a walkway fund where the money for the brick order is deposited in case we have expenses with our monuments. So a lot of the charts in this report talk about some of the trends that we've been seeing. And as you can see, the veteran census is declining for a variety of reasons, as well as the absolute number of Chapter 115 recipients. But I do want to emphasize again, the decrease in Chapter 115 recipients is not linear with the amount of money getting paid for benefits. I also want to mention VA claims. As you can see from our charts, we've had a great increase in the number of veterans receiving benefits since 22. And this is from a VA money report the state gives us every calendar year. In 2022, we had a little under 320 clients getting benefits in the town of Franklin. And the last report in 2025, we were over 420. And understanding the claims process is long and difficult. That is a pretty sizable jump, and there are a lot of factors that go into that. Some of those folks may have filed claims independently without our help, but we probably did help a sizable portion of those veterans and their family members. And I want to add the Vietnam era veterans aging. I think that's another factor in seeing an increase in claims, as well as the PACT Act, which was passed, I think, towards the end of 2021. As you can see on the other charts, the average monthly VA award amount is going up a little bit every year, even when adjusted for COLA. And when you combine the two factors of the number of people receiving benefits plus that little increase in the average amount, what you see is a pretty substantial increase in the annual amount that our veterans bring in for all of their awards. And back in 2022, that amount was just under $6 million, and in 2025, it's getting closer to 10. So small changes can really affect the revenue coming to our veterans, coming to our clients, coming into town. So our gift fund assistance has remained pretty steady. We've had some very generous donations to that fund and our Municipal Veterans Assistance Fund. This is a level, our budget that you see on the screen is a level funded budget. We're not asking for any additional funds this year, and there's no cuts that we can make in our budget. So we can continue to offer our veterans and their family members the professionalism they deserve so they can put their faith in us. Any questions?
Where's your office?
At the Franklin Senior Center.
I have one quick question. So the $165,000 of ordinary benefits, that's the one you get 75% of the very next year?
Yes,
Okay.
that is the one. And I will be honest, we're not spending that full amount every year, but whatever does not get spent goes into free cash.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Sorry you had to wait so long.
That's okay, thank you so much.
Library? Who's that, Brian?
No, library.
Library?
And then Ryan's on deck, yep, so the library.
He's really over anxiety for the mic.
He's not actually, he would be here, but I think he's out of town, so he's on Zoom.
He's on vacation. Library?
Now listen, I just want people to understand, I have a stake in this place.
You should be staying.
It's not.
Anyway.
Chairman.
Anyway,
the assistant.
So George,
She's the assistant youth services librarian. So, Laura,
Yeah, well, the real question that Felicia needs to answer is how much are we over MAR? So MAR is our state law that dictates how much money we have to spend. And with the cut last year, how much are we projected? What's the amount? 20,000, 25? 20,000?
20
So
plus, right?
Yeah. So if you cut more than 20,000 out of the library, we go into virtual waiver list. We start deducting our state aid, and you got to fill out all these forms, and you're on the list of the 30 towns that don't fund their public library, which is, quite frankly, a complete embarrassment that we're even in this position, given the fact that we sell ourselves on being the fairest public library in the country. And we have the world coming here pretty soon in a couple months, and they're going to be flocking to this place, believe it or not. They are definitely going to be going there, and to say that we're going to underfund our library where we're the first one in the country is a miserable state of affairs.
How many customers do you get a day, a year, a month, or whatever you count?
Over 1,000 a day go through the building.
How many?
12? Over 1,000 a day because of the program. Most of our programs in the summer we have to do outside because the building is not big enough.
What did you say?
Over 1,000.
1,000 a day.
1,000 a day. Not bad. For a place with books, and who reads the books now? You put it on a electronic.
I read the books. I'm in the library all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, I know.
So just to put it in perspective, when on a comparative scale, if we look at libraries in our population group, Franklin is the lowest funded library. Maybe it is $1.5 million more. Needham is $1.3 million more. Norwood is $1 million more. And even if we look at Milford, it's over 500,000 more for less services than we provide.
And they don't have a 96% approval rating like you did in the customer satisfaction survey. 96%. This is the market basket I was relating to earlier, right? More for your dollar. You could go to Milford. You could go to Milford. What?
The market basket doesn't have a 96 effect.
No, they don't, but
50-50 maybe.
Artie might.
Yeah.
50-50.
Questions, guys?
I don't have questions. I mean, I have questions as to how we fund more, right?
Exactly.
That's my question, because I do think that, I'm very skeptical in the budget process, as you probably caught on. And I do think that going through this, that it is significantly lower, and I didn't know the comparatives to the town until you said that. But looking at this and looking at the services that are provided, and the newsletter that goes out every month with activities for every population in town, I would be in support of additional funding to the library. So, thank you.
Don't be mad. Don't be mad.
Okay, everybody.
Don't be mad. I will be.
All the seniors go there.
No. I know. I just have a question about what scheduled overtime is.
Okay, so because we have only staff of 12, and we have to do almost of our program, what we found out is that since the communities in the arts and crafts, which are doing painting and all kinds of beautiful crafting, it costs a lot of money. When we pay people, they charge us $25 a person. So what the staff started doing was trying to learn those crafts so that we could provide. And also their outreach, programs, sometimes when we have to visit somebody out, when you have to visit organizations, we have to work on their time. Or when the downtown partnership is doing the strawberry stroll, if it falls on a Sunday, which most things do, then we can't say, oh, no, we cannot attend. If staff members attend, we have to pay the time and have always money well spent. And also some of it is also for Sunday hours.
So we just did a lot more of that in 26. But I'm not judging this.
Oh, yeah.
Just asking that it went from $5,000, $6,000 in 25, and then in 2026 it went up to almost 24,000. So we just started doing more activities.
The way it works, the way Sunday hours work is that you have to budget it with the staff in mind. Even if the contract says you not force them to work, if they step up to work, you cannot say no, but you have to pay time and a half. So anything that's not spent comes back to the general fund.
I love the library.
Thank you.
My next term.
A point of clarification here, if we didn't spend that, and we are only making that minimum funding requirement by $20,000, and the scheduled overtime is $23,000, if we're not spending that money, we would fall short of this requirement?
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
Is the staff unionized?
Yes.
Staff is unionized.
Yes, they are.
What they don't allow you to take is how many millions of dollars that we spend expanding it, upgrading it. That doesn't count. Drives me.
Yeah, some of those formulas are outdated for sure.
I think we put all of $15 million.
Yep.
So the staff teaching themselves to do all of these things, we have to send them to train because it's cheaper for them to know how to run these programs, Cmte, Diamond Art, and now Marshall. Has anybody heard of it? Now we have to teach ourselves that so that we can have all of the programs that could offer the community. When we reach out to get somebody to pay, they want $60 a person. So how is the library going to come up with $60 per person? It's easier to have a staff member who is interested to learn so that we can offer it weekly. Yes.
Anybody else?
Please.
I asked my question. I already got in trouble.
Good.
I think we're good.
Thanks,
Thank
Lisa.
you, guys. Thank you.
Ryan? Awesome, Ryan. You want to, before I do a lead into Ryan really quickly, he brings in pretty much all the revenue that pays out. So all of his revenues for rec programs goes into local receipts. And so he's close to $1 for dollar. At times in the past, he might be a little bit below that. At times, he's bringing in more revenue than expenditure. So for all intents and purposes, depending on how each year goes, and I'll leave it to Ryan to editorialize, I think he's had record-breaking revenues for the past 4 or 5 years. So thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
This is my 26th year with the rec department. This is the first finance committee I've been here, so I apologize. I'm down to help my daughter get her schooling completed and packed up, ready to come home. So I apologize for missing it. As most of you know, the rec department, we're responsible for all the rec programs and scheduling of facilities in town. We're a self-supporting department, as Jamie said. We rely a lot on the program fees to cover our expenses and pay employees. So we operate the department with 30 full-time employees and 1 part-time admin. We have 3 part-time program coordinators and probably 100 high school-age kids that do our seasonal employment, referees, camp counselors, program aides, and whatnot. In FY25, we spent $824,000. We brought in $844,000, so we made $20,000 more than we spent. And we had roughly 7,200 participants in our program. This year, fiscal year 26, we budgeted $850, and we're doing fantastic. Registration numbers have never looked better. We're going to surpass 7,500 kids this year, and our revenues are probably going to exceed $900K. So in March alone, we brought in $186,000, which is our highest monthly revenue total ever. So, I don't know, everybody keeps telling me the numbers of kids are going down, but we seem to keep getting more and more kids signing up for programs, so that's a good thing for us. you'll see in our budget that we increased our budget a little bit, went up like 2.8%, and that's mainly because we're offering more programs, we're bringing in more kids. So participation and expansion of programs is really driving those numbers. But again, all that will be recouped by the fees that we charge. Next year, it wouldn't surprise me in FY27 if our revenues exceeded $1 million. So that's really credit to our staff and all the kids and parents that partake in those programs. So just to give you a snapshot of some of the participation numbers, in 2024, we had 7,136 kids. We went up slightly in 2025 to 7,179. And as I mentioned, we're forecasting this year to be over 7,500 kids in programs. So we've already got 2,800 through March, so it's great numbers. And to answer, I've been hearing a lot about cuts and whatnot. And I just don't think that any cuts that are made in recreation is directly going to affect our revenues. So I don't see any reason to reduce expenses or salaries in our line item because we're going to make money in our budget. So I'll entertain any questions.
Listen, if you can pay for yourself, I have no questions.
Questions down here?
The comment was made that the department pays for itself. Does that include an allocation of fringe benefits?
It does not.
No.
It does not. So what would your fringe benefit rate be that you would?
About $30,000 per employee.
Okay.
That's the general assumption we make. I mean, that's pre.
Give a percentage like 20%, 25% on average.
But still be 90,000 for this, and I think the numbers we just said would still pay for itself.
Pretty close, yeah.
But just the idea that, and that comment's made, there's another number you gotta pick.
All right.
Anybody else? Thanks, Ryan.
Ryan.
Wherever you are.
Thank you, guys.
690 Historical Museum. That's Rowan. This is our archivist. Yep. Staff of one. Low expenses.
My expenses.
Any questions?
So I'll keep it pretty short. The museum collects historical artifacts and documents relating to the town's history, including some ancient municipal records, largely records from families, social organizations, religious organizations, etc., dating back to the 18th century. I organize, describe, and house them according to archival and museum standards, as well as develop exhibits with all of the objects and documents that we collect. I also assist alongside the Historical Commission with programming, including some speaker events, as well as coordinating exhibits with outside parties. Like last year, we just had an exhibit with the Franklin Art Association, and I help them with organizational outreach within the town and within other social organizations.
Can't cut from one number.
Yeah.
It'd be zero.
I did have my expenses previously were 5,000. They were cut last year to 2,500. We made it work. Previously, I said budget at 10,000. I didn't spend it all, so I cut back. But I'm pretty at the bone.
That's
I think we good.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Historical Commission is at 3,300, account 691. And that's been cut probably about 1,000, 1,500 over the last year at some point. So. Any questions on Historical Commission?
Telephone line?
I think that's actually the museum.
Okay.
So
should that be in the other?
It probably should be, but the museum came only 5 years ago or whatever. The commission's been, since they had to be, 80 years ago or whatever. I don't remember when the historical commissions obviously have been boards that are in a lot of towns for probably hundreds of years, so at least they have a phone. 693, arts and culture and the creative economy. That's another staff of one. Corey?
Can I come sit next to you, Jamie? Is that fine?
Sure, absolutely. Make yourself along.
I have a folder, so I got to spread out a little bit.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Corey Shane, Director of Arts, Culture, and the Creative Economy. Just to give you a little snapshot about what I bring to the town of Franklin besides being the personality hire. I actually just heard this at the Massachusetts Governor's Tourism Summit, where they were describing how the annual, the GDP of Massachusetts is meds, eds, and then cultural tourism. I loved that, the meds and the eds. So cultural tourism was coming at number 3 for Massachusetts, raising $25 billion. So that's the type of energy I'm trying to bring into Franklin, just to paint the scene here. And what I'm doing is supporting local businesses and cultural organizations, as well as building public art infrastructure and really positioning Franklin as a regional destination in arts and culture and tourism. And I've been here for about 2 years, and very much of this position, I like to describe it as building the plane while we fly it, which has worked out so far. And that also includes leveraging some external funds. So I've been applying to a lot of grants. I didn't include this in my narrative because I didn't write the report yet, but now I have, so I have this intel to share. So over the past 2 years, I've requested $376,975 on behalf of the town of Franklin towards arts and culture. That's from 18 different grants that I've been applying for, which is a little rigid in the sense of what municipalities are allowed to be applying for. At this point, we've received $168,775 from those grants, and then that is on top of the fact that we got another $50,000 for a public art earmark that was secured by Rebecca Rausch. So that brings everything, a total of external funding to $218,775. So that's pretty good for my 2-year run here so far. So I just wanted to make a note of that when it comes to actively seeking external funds to support the regional arts and culture programming that we're trying to build here. Something else that I do within this workflow is work with the Franklin Cultural Council and the Franklin Cultural District. Something to make a note of is that sorry, my many different notes as I was referring to. The Cultural Council is funded through the Massachusetts Cultural Council, as well as through the town of Franklin. So in FY24, there was almost $60,000 in requests from artists and cultural organizations in Franklin. And then in FY25, it was almost $82,000, and then this year, it was 180, excuse me, sorry, it's the 11 p.m. hour, I can't read right anymore. It's FY26, it's $168,000 that we've received for requests. So that's artists, organizations in Franklin that are seeking funding, which also that means it has to take place in Franklin and benefit Franklin communities. So that's some money that we're leaving on the table, just to make a note of that, because MCC only allots $18,000, and the Cultural Council did their very best this year in trying to spread that money out. Part of that funding goes back into programs at the Senior Center as well as the Franklin Public Library. So we work really strategically together to make sure that we're having consistent programming, and that even in the time of cuts, that we're supporting one another and our community members. The Franklin Cultural District Committee is also a huge factor in this work, in the fact that MCC allocated the district to the town of Franklin in 2019. And with that, they've been offering funding. You have to apply for it each year, but this upcoming fiscal year, they are making some changes, unfortunately for us. And MCC is no longer guaranteeing that they're this fiduciary support. So in their words, in their many meetings, is that they're pushing back and they want municipalities to be more supportive when it comes to the district. So that's why there is an increase this year of the request when it comes to the district funding. a huge part of what the district does is really capitalizing on the cultural tourism. And part of that is we've been, I think that we're entering like our third issue of a Printing Cultural Districts Guide, highlighting all the community narratives, the stories of our neighbors, our schools, our kids, the projects that we're doing. And it really is fantastic to have this tactile guide to hand off to people, especially with the FIFA World Cup. I didn't even talk about that yet, but that's a whole other follow-up. But when it comes to the district, they really are the marketing machine behind the public tourism in Franklin. And I think now with, partnering with Marina a lot more, we're at the beginning. We're at the beginning phases of a huge cultural boom that Franklin is going to be the hub of. So it feels pretty exciting, especially with FIFA kicking it off with giving us, we got 160, oh my God, 162, I can't even speak. We got a lot of money from them in order to make our watch party happen, which is fantastic. Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
You made a comment that you work with the library.
Yes, they're
Can
great.
you allocate your salaries there so we can help with the, I mean, seriously, allocate some of your salary there so we can help with the number.
The MAR?
You know, the MAR. I mean, the whole little thing there. Do you do that?
It's interesting.
I mean, it helps, right?
Don't do it now.
I'll just see if it qualifies.
Right.
I'll have to see if it qualifies. Yeah, I mean, a big part of it's like literally books, like the way the thing looks. But it's a creative. I like the idea. I like the idea. It's something we hadn't thought of before. I'll look into it for sure.
Yeah, look into it.
Yeah.
I mean, anything you can allocate.
Yeah.
Do you work with the Dean School at all?
Yes. So that's a partnership. They've been going through some leadership changes over the past, since I've been here, and they're very eager to jump in to be partners, especially the times that I've met with them. I'm like, hey, you're a college town, so we need to put that face forward. And one of the big partnerships that we are working with them is the World Cup. So we'll have lots of bulldogs, and we're using their mascot. They also have their new student orientation during the timeline, which we're proposing for our watch party. So it's instantly going to bring a whole new group of kids into the fold.
Any cuts?
Yeah, but I'm getting frustrated.
You haven't gotten to benefits yet.
So I guess, and this is nothing personal, you seem lovely. But this is one of those nice to have versus needs to have positions for me, right? So I see it's new, right? It looks like we just started this position in 25.
2 years ago, yeah. 24?
24.
Yeah, 24.
We didn't have a cost associated with it. You were free?
No, it was in the
FY 25 is 2 years. Anyway, go ahead.
It was somewhere else.
Yeah. It was in the town administrator's budget first, yeah.
Okay. So again, I think this is, for me, it's one of those nice to have versus needs to have. And then I look at the marketing expense, it went up like 70%. I know it's not a ton of money, like when we're talking about 7,000 versus 12,000, but it's a significant increase. And we have the new marketing, the communication director, so I would think that some of that would fall under her.
Sure.
And then the other piece that I would look at is the grants. So I know we did talk about grants and how it was department-led. For me, I'd like to see what the grant money is going towards. I think that's a big piece of it. And I know that we have had the state cultural director out, and there's been some grant money that we've gotten through other avenues. So for me, this position is a hard sell, because I think it's one of those nice to have versus needs to have positions.
Why do you think it's not a need if it's affecting the economy in a positive way?
How?
What do you mean how?
You said it's affecting the economy in a positive way.
Right, like I'm bringing money into the town, so I'm just curious.
You're generating revenue in what capacity?
Well, I'm bringing in money through grants, and I'm hoping to build further programming that we can.
So you mentioned one grant.
No, I have won 8 grants out of 18.
So where is that money
I
going?
think her question is just that, so you bring this from, you went out for 300,000 in grants. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you got back, I think, almost 200, you said? so
Yeah,
far?
and
So
it's
far.
going back into community program.
Where does that
Okay.
money that you bring in to the town, where does that go? How is that spent?
Oh, got it. So it goes back into community programming. So we have a pop-up arts initiative. We have the Arts and Culture Symposium. That is a regional program that's free for people to come and participate and learn more about pop-up programs and how they can benefit the local economy by filling empty spaces. So that's just an example of one program.
Yeah, and for me, I think we have a lot of other agencies in town and in downtown partnership, we have different committees so that kind of replicate that work. And then if we had an opportunity to do some other things, again, we talked about grant writer too as one of our conversations in an earlier one. So if there's an opportunity for us to write the grants without it costing a significant amount of money, that would be something that I would be in favor of. But for me, this is a hard sell when we're looking at where can we cut to make basic services happen for our town.
So the other thing that Corey brings in when she talks about all these programming is the local receipts for meals tax. That has significantly come up. All the Aretha Franklin, all the restaurants and everything. That's another.
But I thought someone else was working on restaurants that we talked about the other day.
Different idea. I mean, we're trying to do everything we can to get people to eat out in town.
Right.
This is a revenue generator, it helps support your government, and hopefully it's a good time. And I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, she's a part of that, but there's other people trying to do a lot of other economic development pieces too. So, but I understand. Everybody can have their opinion. So nobody has to say sorry, like earlier. Nobody has to be sorry.
You need a t-shirt though. She's
Sorry, I'm not sorry.
It's so hard. I think just to counterbalance it, I think it's so hard because I get it. Like if you when you get down to having to cut to figure out $2 million or $1 million, whatever our bogey is, I can see it. But then it's like you're stripping away things that make our town what it is, and this is one of those. So I think it's yes, could this go away? But yes, then we become more bland, honest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's just a balance, right? Like it's like, yeah, you could cut it, but then like that's when you start to get into these whole choices. So it's good to identify, but it's yeah.
Of course, so we can plan this what we can afford.
Well, I'd rather have a teacher.
Mr. Conley, may I offer a comment really quick on this front? I have worked with Corey for the past 2 years ever since she came on, and I would like to say that she has pulled together a lot of these community organizations more than anybody ever has. The Franklin Downtown Partnership is great for businesses that are in downtown, and they try to incorporate other community organizations as much as possible, but in reality, we all have very limited bandwidth. We're all focusing on running our own organizations, and just pulling everybody together into the same room to get our heads together and try to focus all of our efforts on Aretha Franklin and all of these other events that she's putting on does have a huge impact and makes it easier on all of us to decide, what we do with our programming, funding money. So I just like to add that consideration.
Thanks, Ron.
Anybody else?
I have a question for Jeannie. Is this, so there's the Historical Commission, there's Arts and Culture, there's Cultural Council, there's Cultural District Committee. So, and so not all these have people that, they don't all have salaries, but there's expenses. Why are there so many different versions of this?
So to break it down as quickly as I can, well, you got the Historical Museum, which is, we're a community that has it's our original town hall in town that was converted into a museum 15 years ago or so. There's a baseline expense there, and there's actually one staff member that's affiliated with trying to keep that place open, organized, and it's a town asset and a town property. The Historical Commission,
I just want to clarify, I didn't say the Historical Museum.
Okay.
So I just want to be clear there. I think it's important. I wasn't talking about the Historical Museum. I was asking about other the commission.
I thought you had said the historical commission.
Historical commission and the other things that all seem tied together.
The historical commission's one responsibility is they do demo delays. So that's a statutory Mass General Law thing where they have, they do a lot more than that. It's your volunteers that are essentially guiding a lot of the historical preservation work in the community. But that's why that's been there for decades, and the museum just came into the budget recently. In terms of the arts community, so arts and culture is Corey's department. Corey is also charged with kind of working with those other cultural organizations. The Cultural Council is a statewide matching program. So ultimately, the Cultural Council goes through a statewide funding formula, like the senior center, like the library, and we get an apportionment of money each year depending on what the state legislature does. If Corey's position wasn't here, or if there wanted some other strategy, the Cultural Council would still get whatever their state apportionment is. Okay, so if it's $20,000 a year based on the formula, based on what the legislature and governor sign in the state budget, there's always a Cultural Council at the local level. There's a manual that the state puts out on how that's governed, and so that's its own entity to deal with one issue with the state. The second piece is the Cultural District Committee is another state certified program. We became a certified cultural district in 2019. And so as a result of that statute, you have to have a cultural district committee that helps essentially organize the activities, if there are any, in the cultural district. Up until this year, we got a $15,000 grant from the state by being a cultural district. That was like their carrot. And we're hearing that in next year's budget, the state budget, that grant will go away, or maybe the following fiscal year, depending on how the state legislature gets into that. So they're all different. They all have unique charges. They all have unique responsibilities, and most of them are embedded in a state statute or a state budget somewhere. And so the Cultural Council here, we just match the money that the state gives us. The cultural district is a modest, I think it's $1,000 or whatever it is that's in there for the, like all the boards and committees, and then they get a $15,000 grant from the state. We're anticipating funding that grant for the cultural district through restoring it in this budget. It may not make the cut through Finance Committee or the council, I don't know. But we wanted to make sure the community was aware that that grant at the state level is likely going away. And because the community's been used to it, we're just proposing it to put it in there and see where y'all feel about it, you know, as we go through the budget process. So each one's a little bit unique.
You do a lot of outreach for like to get volunteers to run these events.
Yes, I do, and also Franklin is known to have generations of volunteers, but it also is really hard to build infrastructure on that, just because the needs of programming for consistency, and if you want to be able to match a dollar amount to it, it's harder to do when you have not consistency, which volunteers can't offer 100%.
Anyone? No, you said. Yeah, who's next?
Well, now we're into debt.
Plan for the sleeping bag.
So the debt service schedule is pretty straightforward. We have it all line itemed out. You can see where all the payments are, which ones have come off. And you know, we could probably shorten this list a little bit, but we've left it in there just to show the history. But the principal and interest is pretty straightforward. Not sure if anybody has any questions, but it's...
Yeah, more for future. Your schedule of debt, how far do you have it going out?
To 2042.
All right, can I see it at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Interest?
No, we did.
Any questions on interest? Interest is interest?
Interest is
I'm just asking.
agreed upon when we took the bond of the
All right, so you got 2 accounts left, employee benefits and property and casualty.
Without benefit, it's like, not what we're talking about until
Right.
May.
It's up to you.
Well, I mean, it's a big one, but I mean, we can talk about it tonight or in May, whatever you guys want to do. But we have based these numbers based off the 14.5%. These do not reflect the GIC transition. You will see a line item in here with the health insurance for the school. We've separated that out. Does anybody have any questions on any of the other line items, like OPEB or unemployment or workers' comp or anything about Medicare, retired teachers' life insurance?
Quick question. Where's, and I don't know, I'm sure there's some payroll tax on employees?
That is there's a Medicare line.
Okay, so that's in the payroll tax if there is.
Yep, Medicare tax would be like the FICA.
Got it.
And that number looks higher. The last couple of years, we've actually made it more accurate to what it was actually charging. So it looks like it went up a little bit more than it actually did. It's actually fine. I'm sorry, but what we budgeted for it went over budget, so you'll see the expended. So that's okay. A lot of the budget's going to really depend on the huge line items there for health insurance and a number of different line items. So we'll have more information in early June, probably.
Couple questions. One, like I mentioned on the cultural committee, some of these costs can be allocated back to the library to meet our goal.
I don't believe
so.
they allowed benefits to count for that.
Most state formulas, even Chapter 70 for a long time, they don't include those kind of fringe benefits in their calculations.
Not even 10%?
That's why a lot of the formulas are outdated, but people have tried for decades to change them. And they run
on the
into
new
roadblocks.
gig program, is it just one contract with the state, or do you have a contract with the state administration side and the school side?
It's all one big group. We ended up moving all health insurance benefits to the town side. So on that sheet, you'll see a school health insurance line, which is new. So it now says health insurance school, that fourth one down.
Yeah.
That is active school employees, is about close to 8 million.
Yeah, no,
We
so
have to go in as an entire district.
Okay.
Our active employees, active school, active town, active school, and all our retarees.
So I
we're all going
allocate
in.
the cost between the number of contracts
It's
or the number of
each
people covered?
individual, each individual that's benefit eligible, and I base it on who we currently have. They have 7 plans to choose from for active employees, and there's 4 plans for Medicare. So it all kind of.
I'm more looking at the allocation to get over to the schools. So if you have an employee, that's one contract.
A school employee is going to
It's one
have
subscriber.
insurance, one subscriber.
One contract. If they have a family plan.
They have a family plan that
Right.
costs more than the individual plan.
Understand, but
Yeah.
how do you allocate the cost based upon one member and one member? Or one member and, 3.9? On the actuary side, they have a family of 3.9, don't ask me.
I just base it on our current enrollment, and then we usually add like a $75,000 buffer, knowing that people are going to be changing. So
But if
you
have
just
a
have to do
family-
your best
If you have more
guess.
family plans in the school,
I base it based on what they currently have, so I know how many family plans versus individual plans the town has, and the school has, and the Medicare. And then we'd have to leave a little bit of a buffer, because at any time, someone could get married and change to a family plan.
so that's what I'm saying.
It's very hard to
So you do
predict.
it on a head count, not
Yep.
necessarily on a contract count.
Correct.
I just have one question. What's the health insurance school non-GIC?
We had a group of our school teachers used to actually be part of the GIC.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and it was called the Retired Municipal Teachers.
they were grandfathered in to keep the same rates as the GIC.
Okay.
So they're considered the GIC trust. So on the line item, retired teacher health insurance is that group of grandfathered people.
Yep.
And the health insurance school non-GIC is everyone that's retired since.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so that retired teacher's health insurance, the grandfather people in, yep, and we pay either 90 or 85% of their premium compared to 70% for everyone else.
So open enrollment will be over on April 30th. We'll have data on actual healthcare numbers probably closer to the budget hearings in May at the council meeting, hopefully around Memorial Day. And then, you'll probably look at on May 27th and June 3rd, you'll look at the final budget numbers.
Just one quick question. Did you budget for the GIC?
No.
You did not?
Nope.
We didn't, it was too hard to really guess. So that's where I think it was a safe bet to assume 14.5%, knowing that some of the plans are gonna be pretty big increases, some won't. So it was kind of a placeholder, but we are expecting that's gonna come in lower. It's just a matter of how much lower.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But I mean, like I said before, everybody on the EPO plan, it's going to cost the town less. Every Medicare plan is going to cost, well, every non-grandfathered group is going to
We're also
cost
not
us
paying
less.
out
We're not
health
paying for
HSA.
health savings
We're not
accounts.
paying out HSA money. On the other hand, some of the GIC plans are a little bit more expensive, but there's also a lot more choice. So it's not like one or the other. People have a little bit more customization.
We are expecting the enrollment may go up a little bit just because it is a more well-known group, or if someone's familiar with the GIC because they worked for the state before, I think that there is some appeal to that. So we really just wanted a placeholder until we get more data. Because it's so difficult to predict.
When they reviewed your claim history to make, as you were making that decision, obviously, you went back to your old self-insured plan. What was the differential between what Kik was going to tell you and what was your claim history?
So the Group Insurance Commission doesn't actually look at our claims. They allow you to join without looking at your information because it is an entire self-insured group. So it was a little bit different. When we tried to switch from our current providers before, we've gotten refusals to quote because our claims are so bad. Our claims are very bad.
Our loss runs were terrible.
Our loss runs
were over 100 pretty much consistently since the pandemic.
120.
Before that, we were doing pretty well for a long period of time. We have been through every provider in the last 15 years, Tufts, Blue Cross, we've been up and down, Harvard Pilgrim for years. And really a big reason why we went to the GIC is for that exact reason. Is that if there's ever, as you know, healthcare is not getting better, nor cheaper, nor easier. So coming out of the system, we wanted to be in a system where they weren't evaluating the loss runs to that level and still provide a pretty competitive plan for a lot of people. So it's a tough balance.
I'll be interested to see year 3.
Well, we're part of the entire state, so they can't charge us separately. We're charged the same as every other municipality.
A lot of towns, kind of Central Mass and West, won't go into the plan because it's east in Massachusetts specific almost.
Yeah.
Right. With the highest cost of healthcare in the state. In the eastern part of the state.
Well, western part of the state is probably going to be forced to go into it because they're all bankrupt.
Yeah.
So if you look at Franklin County, like they literally don't even have a healthcare plan anymore. And at some point, to your point, they're resisting going to the GIC, but at some point, that's probably going to be their only option. I will say where I thought your question was going to go is I do think that year 1 we'll see, I'm just guessing, but we'll see a little bit of an increase in subscriber base just because of the brand that Karen's talking about. But I think year 2 and 3, the question will be is, do we see a much larger subscriber number? The more that people get comfortable and familiar with the GIC, do we see higher subscriber numbers down the line?
Yeah, if you look at it on a per capita basis, a PMPM at the end of the day and see how that comes up.
Yeah.
Remember per month cost. That's how you can normalize it.
We set.
Sure.
Insurance.
I have the liability budget, if anyone had any questions there as well.
Insurance premium. Tom's ready to go.
Well, what's it cover? What's the liability?
Everyone's hiding under the desk. Tom's ready. What's that?
What's the liability insurance cover?
Property and casualty.
Property and casualty,
Everything.
bonds, so our treasurer and assistant treasurer and town clerk have to be bonded.
Cyber insurance, which is embedded in Maya, all of our fleet, all of our buildings, all of our properties.
Pretty much everything but workers' comp
Pretty much everything that works.
and health insurance.
How's the cyber insurance going?
Pretty good. It's just good, you know, I mean, I wouldn't tell you. Like, how's it going for the rest of the world?
They're not
I mean,
gonna-
it's like,
They have a
not
lot of
very well. I
Wait
mean,
till you get hit. Wait till you get hit and you see how good it is.
well, we got hit and we got half of our money back. So we did pretty well, and that was a long time ago, and a lot of other towns have been hit since. So, and a lot of big businesses get hit. I mean, multi-billion-dollar companies get hit. So, it's
I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. How's that? Do I have unanimous consent?
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks, George. Good job.
Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor, say aye.
We are now producing this in collaboration with Franklin TV and Franklin Public Radio. This podcast is my public service effort for Franklin, but we can't do it alone. We can always use your help. How can you help? If you can use the information that you find here, please tell your friends and neighbors. If you don't like something here, please let me know. Through this feedback loop, we can continue to make improvements. And I thank you for listening. For additional information, please visit franklinmatters.org. If you have questions or comments, you can reach me directly at suresteve@gmail.com. The music for the intro and exit was provided by Michael Clark and the group East of Shirley. The piece is titled Ernesto Mañana, copyright Michael Clark and Tintype Tunes in 2008, and used with their permission. I hope you enjoy. By the way, you can also subscribe and listen to Franklin Matters Radio on your favorite podcast app. Search in podcasts for Franklin Matters.